To call the meeting to order. Clerk Kornecki, could you please take the roll?
Trustee Davis. Here. Trustee Aiello.
Here.
Trustee Bolfus.
Here.
Trustee Taglia.
Here.
Trustee Case.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
President Bullwinkle.
Here. We would all please rise. We will say the Pledge of Allegiance. And George, would you like to lead us in the pledge? If I could ask everybody to remain standing, I'm going to say a prayer, and I'd like Trustee Taglia to lead us in that prayer.
Our Heavenly Father, will thou be pleased to grant that this meeting, thus begun in order, be conducted in peace and closed in harmony.
Amen. All right. Item number 3 on our Committee of the Whole agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Was that Trustee Aiello? Oh, who was that? Trustee Davis? Okay, Trustee Davis. Do we have a second?
Madam President.
Trustee Aiello?
Second.
All right. Questions and comments from the public in regards to our agenda tonight? Questions and comments from the board? Oh, nope. Yes. Yes, okay, if you could please step forward.
Well, this is on the approval of the agenda.
Oh, oh, I'm sorry.
She has questions about the items.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, this is approval of the agenda. Usually we do questions and comments, so, okay. Roll call vote on the agenda, then, sorry about that.
Trustee Aiello.
Usually we have
Trustee
questions and
Bolfus.
comments on
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee
Well,
Wagner.
before you can
Yes.
ask
Trustee
each item
Davis.
they can
Yes.
talk.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. Okay, item number 4, presentation of pool assessment by Williams and Associates. And this is for discussion only. We won't be making any decisions tonight, but we have some representatives from
we
the
welcome
consultant,
discussion.
so,
So,
all right.
thank
Get
you
right
for
into
the
it.
invite. And
Oh.
my name is Tom Milan. I'm a principal with Williams Architects Aquatics. With me tonight is Rich Clark. Rich is our in-house aquatic engineer. So with that, I'll go through the presentation. I'm hoping,
Yes.
brief, but interrupt me anytime you want with any questions you might
Okay.
have.
Okay. We'll get the background here. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe one more. Okay.
It's pretty exciting so far.
Actually.
Let's try this. How's that?
Oh.
So there we are.
I'm sorry. Do you want to do this? Yeah, are you sure?
So I tried to tell him to sit. He wasn't listening.
Yeah, okay. Make sure you introduce yourselves to the public, and we can go on from there. So.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Williams Architects Aquatics, in affiliation with WT Mechanical Engineers, did this report. And again, presented by myself, Tom Lalonde, here representing Williams Architects Aquatics, and Rich Clark, Williams Aquatics. Just a little bit about our background. We've been in business since 1974. We have over 30 years of experience in aquatic and recreational architecture, so we have some pretty significant credentials related to this type of work. I'm not going to bore you to death related to that, but as I mentioned, we have in-house aquatic engineering, Rich, bringing with him over 25 years of experience. We also are very experienced in doing ADA accessibility reports. In this instance, you had done one the previous year, so we referenced that report. The presentation is starting with purpose and background, and then we'll move into observation, recommendations, and then costs related to those. Purpose was to perform a survey of the existing facilities to assess current conditions, and then to make recommendations based on our observations, and then, as I mentioned, tie related costs to those recommendations. And the review is based on, obviously, the condition of the facility as we observed it. We always look for any safety concerns or issues and any code-related items. With reference to codes, these are obviously older facilities, so there's always an understanding going in that older facilities are grandfathered in don't necessarily meet current codes. They met codes when the facilities were built. However, we feel that it is our responsibility to at least identify where the facilities are code deficient. A little bit of background, Lufkin Pool. Pools are designated by the amount of bathers are allowed in a facility at any one time. There's a calculation the state does. So these facilities are posted with a bather capacity, and basically that means the number of people you can have within the fenced-in area at any given time and in the pool. 725 bathers at Lufkin. It opened in 1954, so it's going on 60 years old. It was original sand filtration that was converted in the late 60s to a DE system that is currently in operation today. It was renovated in 1997 with new gutters, liner, water slides, etc. Oops, excuse me. Jefferson Pool is a slightly larger capacity at 895 bathers, and it's 47 years old, opened in 1966. It has the original DE filtration system still in use. DE filtration is an excellent system as far as filtering water. And it was renovated in 1997, again, adding some new amenities. I'm going to let Rich get up and speak specifically about the pools, the pool systems, and the decks, and then I'll go through the buildings.
Good evening. I'm Rich Clark, the aquatic engineer. I'm the aquatics guy at the company. So, Lufkin Pool. As Tom said, the pool is quite old. It's approaching 60 years old, and you can see some problems with the structure. The pool structure itself is really deteriorating significantly, both floors and wall. You could see it telegraphing through the liner. It has a PVC pool liner that's been applied to the pool in the 97 renovation, which I was part of at that time, which was kind of fun coming back to some projects I've worked on throughout my career. But you can see, cracks, the walls on the one photo, you can see it's almost coming into the pool by 2 inches. So there's some severe deterioration in the pool structure. The liner is also approaching the end of its useful life. Typically, their last 10 to 15 years maximum. This liner is at about 10, and you could see it's already had a lot of patching, in a lot of different areas. Decks are also in poor condition. We have differential settlement. I always refer to it in my reports as toe stubbers and tripping hazards. Little kids aren't supposed to run when they're at the pool, but they do. And if they encounter something like this, it really creates a hazard. Cracks are forming. Differential settlement has caused puddling of water when it rains or if there's splash out from the pools. And also the deck drains don't meet current code requirements. And that doesn't mean that you're going to get shut down or anything, but it just, as Tom said, we want to bring it to your attention. They're not going to come out and say, okay, your decks are bad, and you have to replace them, but it is an area of concern that we would like to point out. Do I just hit the arrow? Yeah. Down? Okay. Lufkin Pool, again, yeah, this is the same one. We have code issues, Illinois Department of Public Health. Deck drainage, it doesn't meet the deck drains, the spacing and the quantities required. There are some planting areas where the decks are even with the planting areas. So there are a number of small deficiencies that do not meet IDPH code current code regulations. The DE filter system, it's old. I mean, as Tom said, the DE filtration system is a great filter system. You get sparkling, clear water, and staff, really takes care of all these facilities, really. But on a yearly basis, the DE filter, it's an old concrete structure. It requires repair. So it's a yearly maintenance procedure, and it is deteriorating. And the piping, it's a 60-year-old pool. When we did the renovation in '97, we added the stainless steel gutter and the liner. Gutter is in great condition still. There is a little bit of settlement, but I mean it's still really good. But still working with the original main drain piping. And I can't see what's underneath the decks, but you can see where it's exposed coming into the mechanical room. It's really corroded. It's severely corroded. And that's probably the type of condition that we have underneath the decks, and we never know when there could be a catastrophic failure where it starts leaking, a lot of water. I think this is yours.
Okay, I'll pick it up. We did do a cursory review of the site. Just want to identify you some, again, conditions that you would need to address in the near future. You can see there's a lot of cracking and movement, specifically on the concrete and asphalt areas. So, we would minimally recommend doing some crack repair and seal coating on the parking lots, and I think some of the concrete would have to be removed. I'm sure it's addressed in the ADA report. That's the Accessibility American with Disabilities Act, and the guidelines there would require sidewalks, et cetera, to be accessible to the front entrance of the facility. So some of these walks with the significant settlement and cracking do not meet that code. Inside the building, generally, the buildings, I would call it fair to good condition overall, for considering their age. There have been some improvements made over the years. The walls have been resurfaced. The ceilings are in fairly good condition. There's some things that obviously need to be addressed. Nothing really significant from the architectural perspective. There's just, ongoing maintenance, et cetera. On the outside of the building, you do have some movement, especially at the, I think it's the southwest corner. You can see in the lower left there, the pen kind of sitting on the ledge where the brick has shifted, and then cracking and spalling brick. The image in the center at the bottom is pretty typical, where brick is near the ground level, and basically what's happening is it's getting, probably during the winter, moisture, ice build up there, and that will cause a lot of movement in the masonry and the face of the brick to spall off. So that's what you're seeing there. The exterior has been wrapped in aluminum in a lot of areas, so that's been able to really maintain a good quality and minimal maintenance from that part of the building. But some of the soffits and the other wood on the right-hand side has been basically deteriorating over the years to the point where you're getting some rot and would require replacement. And then the filter building needs some significant repairs. It's at a point where it's really way beyond its life expectancy. We would recommend a major renovation or replacement of the building, and would just suggest that if you're considering larger upgrades to the overall facility, that this building be replaced. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, that's the MEP acronym you're seeing up there. Again, some minor condition issues, some deterioration with rust, et cetera, of some of the items. Nothing significant. Some code upgrades, the emergency systems, et cetera. There weren't code requirements for those at the time, so the building doesn't have any. These are buildings that obviously patrons come in, they're in there for a very brief time, go out to the pool deck. So they're kind of secondary to the overall use of the site. So we don't want to overemphasize that, but again, they do not meet current codes. Again, ADA improvements that would be requiring opening up some doors so that wheelchairs can get through, and then largely replacing plumbing fixtures, making sure that they meet the code. Now back to Jefferson, and Rich will talk about the pools.
Jefferson Pool, pool structure. There's a lot of water loss at this facility. It's very, very significant. The pool structure, you don't see, type of deterioration that you do at Lufkin, but there's spalling, there's cracking, and as I went around the pool, you could find hollow spots. So the structure is deteriorating. It requires continual maintenance, and I know staff does take care of it, but It's an older pool structure. That's what's going to happen with concrete, especially in our climate with the freeze thaw. The finish is, it's a painted finish, and it's, I think, repainted every couple of years by staff. So again, they do a great job, but we've got a lot of paint on there after almost 50 years, going on, I think it's 47 years now. So, to do it, to really get a good finish on there, it should be all sandblasted, but, down to bare concrete, fix the cracks, fix the entire structure, and apply a new finish. But associated with that, there's significant cost to it. Pools and decks, the floor inlets. No, pools and decks. The other thing with the pool is that this is an older style pool. They refer to it as a reverse flow, where you had inlets going down the center, and all the water would be coming up to the surface and going into the perimeter gutter system. It's a much, much older design. We have inlets going straight down the center of the pool only, and that doesn't meet current IDPH code requirements. Not that you guys would get shut down, but there's another point that I'd like to bring up. It's having this type of design, you really don't get very good water, filtered, watered, treated with chemicals distributed throughout the pool. Current code requirements, the floor inlets have to be within 15 feet of the walls. There's certain spacing between the inlets, and what they're trying to do there is to get a good distribution of filtered chlorinated water throughout the pool, so you don't have low chlorine in some spots. As I said, the water loss is significant here. The piping is original. There was never any renovation done to the gutters, so the gutter collection piping, the main drain piping, the supply piping to the inlets is all original, and there's a very good chance, that's what's, the structure and the piping is responsible, the condition responsible for the water loss that is occurring. Decks are in fair to poor condition. I mean, they're better than they are at Lufkin, but we have low spots, we have some cracking, we have the toe stubbers that I talked about earlier. But again, our deck drainage is not sufficient. It doesn't meet current code requirements. There's going to be some puddling, and it's really a concern for the patrons who are out there. Gutter, there is settlement at this facility of the gutter. Typically what you want to have is a uniform skimming all the way around the pool. That's taking off surface, saliva, body oils, hair, leaves, things like that. It's settled, and we do have a flooded gutter condition in some areas, which is not something that you really want. IDPH does not like that. IDPH being Illinois Department of Public Health. And again, there are the code issues, what I mentioned. There are a number of small code issues, the deck drainage being one of them.
Okay, back to the site. Similar conditions here at Jefferson. You can see in the images, this parking lot is even further deteriorated. The upper right-hand corner, the alligator cracking is a good indication of that. In the lower left, you can see that some of the asphalt is completely removed. So here we would recommend a complete resurfacing of the parking lot and drives. Some of the sidewalks in the front of the building and around the perimeter of the site, again, have serious cracking and settlement. And we would recommend replacement of minimally of those areas. The bathhouse, similar to Lufkin, that it's in fairly good condition with some of the upgrades that have happened over the years on the interior. There is some rusting, and it's largely in the mechanical room. I would expect that has to do with the moisture and chemicals that it's exposed to in that area. So the lower two images show a door frame on the left and a ceiling panel on the right. This building is made up of metal ceiling planks, and so what's happened is that the corrosion in that room, corrosive atmosphere has caused that to rust out. It's something that should be looked at before it becomes a serious issue. On the outside of the building, again, you can see where the brick has been exposed to the elements, is beginning to spall and deteriorate. More significant on Jefferson than in Lufkin. So pretty much the whole south wall has this condition sporadically across the wall. There was some missing trim on the windowsill when we were out there. I suspect that that's probably been replaced by maintenance at this time. The roof is at its life expectancy and should be replaced in the next couple of years. Again, you can see in the upper right-hand corner, that's the metal panel on the overhang. So same thing's happening there. It's beginning to corrode. There is another building on this site. It's the with the 1997 renovation and the adding of the wading pool. There was a separate filtration building added. Generally, the building's in good condition. The air quality inside the room is again causing some corrosion. We'd recommend some exhaust to help correct that, or relocate the chemicals into a separate enclosure. And that's an image in the lower left of the roof where some of the vents caps had been missing. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, again, pretty typical. Some corrosion and code upgrades would be recommended. ADA, again, same thing. I'm not going to read these. This is in your report, but these are the recommendations. We went through and prioritized them, basically ranking them from a 1 through 5, 1 being more immediate and 5 being further out 10+ years. So this is for Lufkin, and you can see the dollar values, kind of a cost range. You know, it's difficult to price things specifically in these categories. It really is an end product of what the ultimate plans and specifications that would need to be produced. But we're giving you at least some idea of budget ranges of what we think these items would cost. So here you have the balance of Lufkin. You see there's quite a few items on the list. And then this makes it much more graphically easy to represent. We've broken it down on the left-hand side by category, and then across the top you can see what the different priority rankings include from 1 year up to over 10 years. And then it totals as you go across the columns so that you can see for the pool in this instance, if you did the number 1 and 2 priorities, you're anywhere from close to $700,000 to $1 million for those improvements alone. As you total down then in the lower right-hand corner, again, you know, $900,000 to $1.2 million is kind of a range is what we're talking about. Now this is spread out over a number of years. You can see we have quite a few things in priority columns 1 and 2. That's something that's subject to conversation. It's not going to be dictated, but it's our professional opinion that a lot of these things have deteriorated to a point where you're going to want to be looking at some pretty immediate, you know, repairs. Jefferson, same thing. Again, I won't go through this in detail. That's the totals, and you can see similar totals for this pool. And then finally, the totals for both combined about doubles the numbers, $1.7 million to over $2 million total. So in summary, these are aging, outdated facilities, and when I say outdated, there's a lot of current trends, codes, et cetera, that we would want to address if it was a newer facility. There are deficiencies. You do have some failing infrastructure that could at some point shut the facilities down. That's just kind of an educated guess, but we would expect that within the next, say, 3 to 5 years that there's that high potential for that to happen. And of course, the older facilities are, the higher the costs are going to be. So the longer you wait to do something, things will continue to deteriorate to a point where they would need complete replacement. So that completes our report. I know you had full copies of the detail, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
And we also put the report on the village website too.
Great.
Before we field questions from the public, staff that's here, does anybody from staff have anything that they'd like to add to this? I suspect we'll have some questions from the audience, so, okay. Greg Gola, our Director, Parks and Rec.
No, I'd just like to, well, thank the board, first of all, for commissioning Williams and Associates to do this report. It's a long time coming. For a number of years, things have just been, you know, Marlon and his staff have been putting a Band-Aid on ever-increasing problems. So we're at this point where we have to make some hard decisions. So thank you to the board, and thank you to Williams and Associates for doing a good job. We really appreciate it.
Right. Thank you. Okay. With that, I'd like to see if there's any questions from the public. I know we have a number of people here tonight who are concerned about the pools. So, all right. If you want to state your name, state your name for the record.
Do I have
and-
to sign in or anything?
Yeah, if you could,
Okay.
for the record.
Jen Burns.
And if you can limit your questions to 3 minutes
No
if
problem.
possible.
Just
Yeah.
they're not necessarily all questions, but prior to the 97 upgrades at Jefferson, you know, that walkway that they said seemed to have absolutely no purpose. Well, that walkway used to go around the entire facility. There was a park that was accessible to anyone in the community at the time. And that park had begun to deteriorate and fall in disrepair, and so we kind of absorbed portions of it, well, actually all of it, to do the new wading pool and the turf area. And I'll tell you, as a swim lesson teacher, it was nice because the parents, they could kind of keep walking around the pool and be able to see their kids swimming, but still get a little bit of exercise and things. So I think money just kind of ran out, and that's why it just turned into the sidewalk that led to nowhere. And also the fencing, they were not able to move the fencing back when they made the upgrades in 97, so you could actually walk completely around the facility at Jefferson. So we lost that ability when they put that water slide in the corner. So I'm hoping that in the future, it'd be nice to be able to get to all areas of the facility and not kind of get pigeonholed. And then I didn't see anywhere in the report anything about the white removable steps that were installed last year at both pools. I know to try to alleviate some concerns, and so I'm not sure if those were a good enough fix. Are those things that we should keep? I couldn't find them in there. They might have been in there and I might have missed them. And the Lufkin pool, well before I had moved into town, also was the place where the Villa Park dive team had practiced and competed at. And so it does have that nice flat bottom, and there are some other history things about the way the pools were designed and upgrades that had happened. So there is a lot more history that didn't make it into here, and uses that we used to have in other facilities and options we had as well. I did have a question though, on the observation assessment for Lufkin, item 14, it said something about a 4-inch drop to planting area about the, and I couldn't, sometimes I had some confusion as to what, the water slide, the flume slide, the drop slide, and I just wasn't sure what that meant. If someone could clarify that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Yes. Okay, yeah. You can come to the podium, yes.
That is one of the code issues that IDPH, that it's a violation of IDPH code. And what that is when you have your perimeter deck, when you're adjacent to a grass area, it can be flush with the grass area. But if it's an adjacent to a planting area where there's dirt, there has to be a 4-inch drop. The reason for that is when there's a lot of rain or a lot of splash out or something, the dirt can start coming back onto the deck, dirty up the deck, and it could be a hazard to patrons.
So are you talking about the water slide that's in
Over-
the deep end?
It's over by the water slide. It's
Okay.
if you walk around the water slide
see.
and
Right.
take a look at the planning area, and there's I think there's some photos in the report.
Because I thought I printed out, no big deal, the color copy.
Yeah.
I'm sure would have been easier to understand, so.
But that, I mean, that's what it is. That's what I was referring to when I mentioned it. So hopefully that clears it up.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks. Anybody else from the public? Okay. Want to state your name for the record?
I am Wendy Granrath, a 34-year resident of Villa Park and a very involved pool person. One of my questions was, the pictures that you had for Jefferson and Lufkin, I take it they were done in the spring, is that correct? The spring of the year. So the pictures at Lufkin regarding the wood that was deteriorating, that obviously was before the Coalition to Save Our Pools got out and painted and cleaned and got rid of mold and all that kind of stuff. Is that correct? So it does not look
Wendy,
in the spring.
I'm sorry, you need to speak to us
Oh, I'm
right here so
sorry.
we can pick you up on the
I'm
mic,
sorry.
so.
I'm
yes,
sorry.
It's okay.
And let me ask one more question. I did not look online. Williams and Associates was responsible for the renovations that were done in 1997, is that correct?
I don't think so, no. I'm looking at them now, I don't.
No,
I
they did not do them in
don't
1997.
don't believe so. Staff,
So-
do you have
No,
any
we did
insight?
not.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, I didn't think so.
I don't know if I'm supposed to speak into
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Stay close.
And then my,
I mean,
Yeah.
so I can speak to that.
sure, sure.
I've been in aquatics for over 25 years. I've worked for some of the largest aquatic design firms in the country, and I was involved with the Lufkin renovation.
Okay,
I was also involved in the Jefferson addition of the wading pool. So,
Okay.
but I was working for a different company at the
Okay.
time.
okay. I
So-
thought I heard you say we did this or we did that.
I
So-
said, I thought I said I, but if I said we, I apologize.
Okay, I just wanted to know where the 1997 renovations, if it was with the same association, the same business.
Okay,
I think that's probably it, so thank you.
okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right. State your name for the record and,
Hi, guys.
hi.
The two gentlemen prefaced their,
Just state, if you can state your name for just the record. We know who you are, but state your name, please.
Tony Gurdak,
All right, great.
50 Rand Road, Villa Park, Illinois.
Thank you.
The two gentlemen prefaced their statements about the pools, talking about the codes. If the codes are grandfathered in, why were we even talking about them? And I got a question for Greg Gola. Are we still in the top 10 in the county with the DuPage Health Department? One and two all the time that I remember Hewitt and Majark on the pools. We're still there. We're 1 and 2.
Tony, we need you to, I'm sorry, we
Okay.
need you this way, so we
No,
can catch you.
I want to talk to Mr. Gola
Yeah.
because I was
Greg.
addressing him.
Right, well, Greg,
Yes, he
we'll
answered.
have him, okay.
We
all
are
right.
1 and 2. Our health department, DuPage County Health Department ranks our pools 1 and 2. They have been forever.
Okay,
Last but not least,
okay.
76 in 2 days. I'm old, but I take care of myself, all right? The pools are younger than I am. Let's use the due diligence with the pools. Our guys do a great job in those pools. The community is involved. Mrs.,
Grand Rapids.
no, Mark's wife.
Oh,
And Maggie, her beautiful daughter. We're there for them. 5 of my kids swam in those pools. I've swam in the pools. There's got to be a solution. All right, the community's with you. We'll do everything that we can. And what was not mentioned on there is how much we would take care of. Parking, concrete, those numbers are all in there. And that's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
Those dollars would be brought down by what we would do as a village. All right, thanks for your time.
great, thank you, Tony. All right. Okay, state your name for the record.
Terry Wolf, 733 South Ardmore. I guess I'd like to start off with requesting that this board, sorry, hard to write and
It's
talk
okay.
at the same time,
Here, we gotcha.
that this board uses this opportunity to do the right thing for this community and to continue down this subject matter with further discussion with the public to find out what the public really wants here. I understand Mr. Gurdak's points of view, but I would at this time ask Williams maybe what a recommended useful life for a pool in this climate would be. Could you
You want to
speak to that?
come forward?
We've dealt with facilities of all ages. I know there are facilities that can last 60, 70 years, but if you're talking about life expectancy, typically we would put a 30 to 40-year life expectancy on a facility. And it just means it gets to a point of diminishing returns when you're talking about upkeep of an older facility. And that's really where we come in with that recommendation. Not to mention, as far as the codes, you're right, the facility is grandfathered. But again, as professionals, we want to identify to you what it would be needed to bring it to current code. There are some deficiencies. Codes are written and updated every day for safety, basically is the reason they're updated. So as facilities get older and they're not up to current codes, there's a reason that we would ideally like them to be up to current code.
And to be clear, the budgetary numbers that were in there were not for total replacements of either of those facilities, but to kind of put together a series of Band-Aids to fix these pools in some fashion, or?
Yes, our task was to basically recommend basically observe what we felt needed to be repaired or replaced, and then make recommendations based on that and put costs to those recommendations. So the dollars you saw are really just to try to get the facility back into a complete working condition.
You know, I know that this is an important subject in this community, and it's been talked about for a long time. When they talk about a useful life of 30 to 40 years, and our new pool is 46 years old, it concerns me, and the likelihood of aquatics for my family in this community. So I understand the dollars that we're talking about are not something easy to come by, but I do think that it's an important asset that this community needs to have to continue to put itself on the map and to attract good families and to, you know, provide a good community. And with that, I'll be the first one to go on record to ask this board to pass a referendum so that we can continue to have quality aquatics in this town. So I think this has been treated for a long time as just kind of a small bump in the road. We need to come up with a solution on how to repair the pools. And I want to implore this Board of Trustees to continue and understand that what we need to do is replace and repair these pools. Maybe not both at once, maybe stagger them so we can get on a reasonable return, but we need to do something serious about this. And I think a well-publicized public meeting to gather the input of residents that are much like Mr. Gerdak, as well as people like myself, that have differing viewpoints, to hash this out and let the board make a well-educated decision on how we want to move forward with this subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to ask questions or comments in regards to the report tonight? Anybody else? Okay. Questions and comments from the board for discussion? Oh. Trustee Aiello.
Do you see any indication that there's an imminent collapse in our
Do you
future?
want to come back up to the podium?
That's very difficult to predict.
I'd hate to answer that question if I was you.
But
too.
what we observed, especially at Lufkin, with the liner and the movement that we're seeing just occurring underneath the liner, we have serious concerns about that structure. I think, Rich, you can maybe speak more on that, but I know Jefferson isn't as in a deteriorated condition.
Yeah, I mean, Lufkin, you know, the walls are really caving in. You have cracks that are telegraphing through the liner. You have deteriorated. You can tell that there's spalling going underneath the liner. I mean, there's severe deterioration. You know, we can repair those things. You know, the liner would have to be taken up. You'd have to inspect the entire structure, and you could do repairs to that. But you are building on an existing structure, is what you're doing. So, but I think that Lufkin is in pretty bad shape. The pool shell itself.
If I had a structural collapse that was like that, what would that consist of? What would that look like physically? If I was if I'm in the pool, what happens?
Well, you currently have a PVC liner. The PVC liner is still holding water. It is, you know, probably leaking a little bit, but again, staff is taking care of that. You could have a pool wall fall in, you know, from deterioration, and, you know, if somebody's there, it could fall on their foot or something like that. But I mean, if the liner is not torn by that, it'll still hold water. But now you have a structure that's collapsed. So, but I can't, you know, I'm just kind of thinking through my mind what you're asking.
What I'm asking is, I'm in the pool, am I getting sucked down a vortex of water that's sucking me out to some hole?
I can't.
Is my 2-year-old kid getting sucked out of my hands if something like that happens?
I don't think that would happen, but I can't say it's not. It's
catastrophic. Something
yeah.
catastrophic.
I mean, well, a pool wall could collapse. I mean, it could collapse. What's on the other side? Is there a void there where the water's going to start gushing out? I mean, that very well could be. I don't know the condition underneath the decks behind the pool wall. Are there a lot of voids behind there? So it's difficult to say, but what I can say is I believe the pool structure is in very poor condition and does require repairs.
Did you swim in that pool?
Yeah, I would swim in the pool. I don't swim in pools. I like lakes better, but yeah, I would definitely swim in the pool.
Right. Trustee Taglia first.
First, I'd just like to say thank you to gentlemen. The report was very comprehensive. I like the fact that there are many different options in there, and I think the board will look forward to speaking with the many concerned and engaged residents. I'm proud to say that I'm a member of the Coalition of Villa Park Pools. In fact, I'm their vice president, so it's something that my family is very passionate about. I have 3 small children and a wife. They enjoy Lufkin Pool all summer long. I've been there. I don't think it's going to collapse and suck up my children into the earth, but I hope it doesn't. But I know that it does need repairs, and I think this is a good beginning, so I'd like to thank the board and thank our consultants for bringing us all the options that you have brought forward. Like the village president mentioned, the study is available online on the village webpage. It's pretty comprehensive, so there's a lot of material there, a lot of stuff to read, so a lot of information for us to have a good discussion as a community, what we should do, so thank you.
Trustee Case.
What's the dollar amount on a brand new one?
It has a lot to do with what you're building. I'll just give you an example. We're building a facility in Morton Grove. I think it's hovering around 700-800 bathers, which you can see these two were right in that range, $6.5 million. That doesn't mean you can't do it for less. That's a 50-meter pool. So it's a large body of water, very expensive. And then we have a separate pool associated with the activity pool. But I would say, you know, especially if you're building 2 new facilities today, that you'd probably look at you know, replacement costs maybe $4 to $6 million.
That's for 2, total of 2
If you
or
did,
each?
No, each.
Each, okay. So, well, that sounds like a bargain, but each, all right. Okay. Trustee Bolfus.
I'm a little confused when I hear you say the pool, Lufkin Pool, let's talk about Lufkin Pool first, is in severe deteriorating condition. But your report here says that we can possibly go in and remove the existing liner, repair the deteriorating pool concrete. Well, you know, whenever you get into doing any repairs, being at home or anywhere else, once you get into it, you're finding maybe these problems you're referring to. So my fear is that we come down the line and we say, okay, we're gonna take the liner off and we're gonna repair the concrete, and then all of a sudden, whoa, wait a minute, we have major problems here. And then you're at that point, then you don't have a pool. Okay? So that's always a possibility. So once you get into it, it could be worse than we think. And I'd also, in your price estimates here, you had talked about the condition of the piping underground. You don't know what it's like. I don't really see, where is that in this estimate of expenses? I know you have here to replace the existing vacuum DE filter with new pressure, you know, and new valves and piping. But does that cover what's underneath the ground, what we can't see, what brings the water back to the filter house, filter room?
No, that was essentially a Lufkin Pool. It was renovated, and it has a stainless steel perimeter gutter on it.
Mm-hmm.
So what that did is the gutter collects the water from the surface, and it also acts as a supply pipe to the pool. You no longer have any floor inlets or wall inlets. That's the beauty of renovating with a stainless steel gutter. It's all within the gutter itself. So your supply and your collections right there, there are really 2 pipes going to the gutter for that facility, a collection and a supply. So the only pipe that needs to be replaced would be the main drain, and that is, that recommendation is number 11, replace existing main drains and existing main drain piping to mechanical room. So, and that would involve saw cutting the main drains out. So the pool floor would have to get saw cut out, the pool walls would, or at least up to a certain point. And then you have to take the piping underneath, excavate behind the pool wall. It would have to be shored up so it wouldn't collapse. I mean, and that's how it would be involved to repair that.
Now, the other thing I was wondering about, you say, you know, it doesn't meet current codes, a number of items. And when you get into doing repairs, there gets to be a point when you do something, you have to meet the codes.
That's true too. And there's nothing in the code that tells you, okay, if you do this much, now you have to bring the entire facility up to code. We're going through that at another facility, and what we do is we call IDPH and we talk to them. And we ask them, okay, we're doing this and this, you know, are we gonna have to do this? And, you know, they'll give us direction on that. So, but you're correct, you know, depending on what would be done, they might say, well, if you're doing this, well, you know, you should bring this up to code too.
IDPH is Illinois Department of Public Health, for those who might not know. And they do have a code reference there that all pools have to adhere to.
Well, again, one of my main concerns is if we start doing a repair of the pool liner, and then if we find out it's more deteriorated, not the liner, but the pool itself, the concrete part, more deteriorated than we thought, you know, we have to be prepared and say, well, okay, we're not gonna have a pool, we're gonna have to replace the pool. And then we're up to $6 million, right? So,
You know, and some of these items, we gave them priority, but some of the items, if you're going to be doing them, they really need to be grouped together. So let's say you're gonna do the liner and you're gonna repair the pool structure. I mean, our recommendation is, you know, you have to replace that main drain because you're doing all this already. You know, we don't wanna have to go back down there in
Right.
2 years when it fails. So some of them have to be grouped together. You know, we did try to give them the priority levels, so you know that they need to be done quickly, or, you know, 3 years or 5 years down the line.
Right, yeah. 1, 2, 3, basically. First priority, second priorities, third priorities, how it's listed.
what worries me is the unknown.
Right.
You know, that's and the price tag that's tied on to that unknown, so.
That's true.
Absolutely.
No, over the map
Just
right
back to your reference on costs, if you're replacing pools and decks, you know, the cost is obviously less. When I was talking about those numbers, I'm talking about basically you bulldoze the whole facility and you start from scratch.
Right.
So it's buildings and everything.
now. Yes, trustee Wagner.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say that the 30-plus years that I've lived in Villa Park, my family has almost exclusively used Lufkin pool, and I understand people's attachment to the pool. I have no reservations about using it now or in the future. You know, anything can have catastrophic failure. But having said that, I think that we owe it to our residents to have the best and safest facility that we can have. And I'm concerned about the potential risks to the village and the potential risks to residents. And I'm also concerned about investing money in aging facilities where we may not get the payback or the life expectancy that we would hope to. So I think there's a lot of hard decisions that have to be made. I like the idea that the resident made about having a public hearing for residents to air their thoughts. I think that's a good start. I appreciate the thoroughness of your report. I mean, I did notice in your priorities, they're mainly 1s and 2s, so there are very high priorities. Lots of safety, health and safety issues at those pools, and I know that there's going to be some hard decisions that are going to have to be made in the future. One question I do have, is there anything peculiar about the sites that the pools are on that might cause aging to the pool structure itself? For example, Lufkin is kind of a lower lying area. There was some mention about soils issues around Lufkin. Is either one side or the other more desirable for a pool?
You know, we didn't get into that level of study, i.e. we did not do soil testing. There was a previous soils report that was done at Lufkin and did show some poor soil conditions. It was kind of on the perimeter of the pool, so you might suspect that those conditions could occur within the pool zone itself. You're right, it is a low area. I think you would see probably more, I know the filtration building has settled, so that's probably one good indication. But within the pool zone, we haven't seen where there's been significant settlement. So we're expecting that it's built on a fairly good base, whatever that might be. But obviously that risk is there. And then Jefferson, we didn't have any information on soil conditions. Again, we haven't seen anything other than the age of the facility, which is what you would expect to see. Over the winters with the freeze thaw, things move. So the decks begin to heave and crack and settle. That's pretty normal for an older facility.
Thank you.
One more.
Trustee Aiello.
Do you have any explanation for, how does DuPage County still give us 1s and 2 rating when we have the conditions we have?
Yeah, they're talking about, your permitting for operations. So, the water quality we talked about, you have, DE is a very excellent system for producing great water quality. So beyond that, I'll let Rich speak to anything he might be able to advise you on, but I really think that speaks volumes about your staff and how well you do, considering the age of these facilities, are able to maintain them, keep them open, keeping them as safe as possible for the users. I mean, that's what I think that speaks to. They're not going to go through and tell you that the pool wall is failing under the liner. That's not their task.
They're coming to make sure that you have the correct residual chlorine, that the entire water is in balance. They're making sure that you have soap at your showers. They're making sure that the decks are clean. I mean, those are the things they're looking for. As Tom said, they're not going to come and say, "Wow, your wall is bowed in completely. We're going to have to take it out." They won't do that. And as Tom said, I mean, staff really takes care of the pools. I mean, they really do every year, and you do have good water quality. So.
Questions? Trustee
one-
Bolfus.
I think one thing that the public has to realize when we had the discussion on the pools, pools are only one issue that we're trying to deal with in Villa Park. We have flooding, we have sewer backups in basements, we have needs for emergency equipment with the fire and police. And we have pools that need to be rebuilt. We have roads. We all know about the problems we have with the roads. And that's what the board is having to weigh, because we only have a certain amount of money. And we only have a certain amount of bonds that we can sell. And now, if we're going to have a referendum for roads, or if we're going to have a referendum for fixing the pools, we still only have a certain amount of money that we can raise, that we're allowed to raise by a state standard, state statute. So how to spend that money, and what should take priority, is what we're wrestling with up here on the board level. Is what do we take? Do we, like I said, do we take care of the person who has sewage backing up in his basement, or do we take care of the pictures here with who have overland flooding in their house? Do we fix the pools? So, just to talk about the pools, we all realize and admit that they need to be done. But if you're going to do that, you have to look at the whole picture of the challenges that we face as a community. So I just wanted to, there's more to Villa Park that needs to be fixed than just the pools. So.
Anything else from the board? I just want to say a couple things. Number one, thank you for taking the time and really delving into this issue. Obviously, we have some difficult decisions to make, but perhaps a town hall meeting, engagement with the residents, will continue that so we can decide as a community what we want. Trustee Bolfus is right. This is a very costly endeavor, whether we decide to rebuild the pools or build brand new pools, whatever it is that we end up doing. So obviously we have a hefty task before us, but it will be community engagement so we can figure out the best way to skin this cat, because there is only so much money to go around. But the pools in town are very beloved. My husband grew up in Villa Park and remember swimming at Lufkin and Jefferson pools growing up. And we hear a lot of the same stories from folks that are up here tonight that serve our community, remember swimming in the pools forever and ever, when they were young. And our residents have a really special place in their hearts for the pools. So we take this very seriously. And I'm confident we will come up with the best decisions, not making any tonight, but this is kind of the start of some serious discussions about how to move forward with this. Trustee Bolfus is right. We have a lot of lofty things ahead of us, but we're up to the task. But we just, I think, really want to reassure the residents that the pools are not at risk of falling in right here, right now. We would never, ever put our residents at risk of swimming in a dangerous pool, or pools in this case, since we have 2 pools in town. So I don't know if Manager Keener would like to say anything. I kind of overstepped his little introduction earlier, so I want to make sure I give Manager Keener an opportunity to say something too. Sure. Trustee Ayala.
If we're gonna do the, community get-together over the pools, rather than doing it just on the pools, we know we've got streets, we know we've got pools, we know we've got stormwater infrastructure. Maybe there's more to that that I can't remember right now. But let's do a meeting where it's not just one topic. There's the one topic, we're all gonna say, if we go to a meeting about pools, we're gonna say, give me the pool, I want the pool. And everyone at the meeting's gonna say, yeah, I want the pool. But if we go to a meeting where we have pools, streets, storm sewers, et cetera, I think you'll get a better picture of, I want it, but I also want my street done. And I think that'd be a more effective meeting.
I hear you. We did do one town hall meeting that was specifically on the streets and infrastructure, the sewers, because that's such a hot topic and such a difficult topic, and there's so much attached to that one topic. That's why we focused on that. If we decide to do the same for the pools, staying focused on just one topic for the pools, we can get a lot done, I think. I hear what you're saying, Trustee Aiello, but that's something that we'll have to determine as a board, what makes the most sense, and if the residents have any feedback on that, we're all ears too. But this is a very, very hot topic in and of itself that may require its own time in a public setting. So we'll cross that bridge soon. Okay. Trustee Davis.
Finally say something.
Oh.
What is our current bonding capabilities? Because when we were doing the road referendums, it was like 27 million, and that would tap us out.
Yeah.
And we just talked about, what, 16? Well, that doesn't leave much for those.
Trustee Davis asked about our bonding authority and where we're at. Manager Keener, if you'd like to address that.
We have a substantial amount that still could be bonded, but, when you think about that, you don't want to bond yourself into such a huge amount of debt that it's going to take you such a long time to get out. So I think, the last time we talked about the bond referendum, I mentioned that we'd probably do something, or it'd be my suggestion, that we do something over several years, maybe a $7 million issuance and followed by every other year of an issuance, so that we can get the projects done effectively and economically and not waste money and stay focused.
And not risk our bond rating.
Yes, right now we've got a AAA bond rating. We pay our bills on time, et cetera. The state's 2 months behind on paying us, which is fantastic. They used to be 5 months. The issue of the 2 pools it's a very delicate issue. I'm quite surprised that if we do 2 pools, it'll be $4.5 to $5, $6 million each. I was kind of running the math through my head as I normally do for issues like this, but I'm in a complete agreement to some sort of community town hall meeting or public meeting to sort through it. Kind of what we talked at our strategic plan over the weekend is possibly a like a municipal building that would have an indoor-outdoor pool, but also have offices, so that we can condense our village footprint. And by that, I mean, we have buildings on Home, we have Parks and Rec buildings, we have maybe a need for some other type of facilities that we could put in one building, maybe in one location. And I'm not spearheading, don't get me wrong, I'm not spearheading for one pool, but it's just a suggestion that we shrink our footprint and then maybe get buy-in from Willowbrook High School District 88 and 45, so we can, like Mr. Gurdak mentioned, that he swam in the pool and so did his family. But we really need a place for our Willowbrook swimmers to train, and the younger swimmers that are coming up, and they're using Jefferson, and Willowbrook swimmers are using Addison. But then in my mind, if you're going to spend $12 million on 2 different pools, but maybe spend, I don't know, maybe $10 million on a municipal building containing 2 pools with offices for departments and maybe offices for other agencies that could help us out, and bring like swimming training programs or exercise programs to the pool. I know I'm getting away from your question for the bond referendum, but as we move forward, I think these are things to talk about. And this is the opportunity, really, to either go stay with 2 pools or go to 1, but really change the footprint of Villa Park. And those are just my thoughts.
Anybody
That was
else?
one of our ideas on Saturday, it was a super dump. But it goes outside too, so.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else on the board? Comments before we move on? Okay. I think for now that concludes our discussion on pools. Appreciate everybody for coming and being here with us, and we'll continue to keep everybody apprised, and I guess our next step will be a public meeting to really start delving into all of this. This is a lot to absorb.
Sure.
The 90-page report, and for those that haven't seen it but have access to the internet, you can get a copy of this at our website, www.invillapark.com. It's under headlines on the homepage, or if you don't have access to the internet, we can get you a copy. If you contact Village Hall, we'll make sure we get you a copy, because there's a lot here, a lot to read, a lot to absorb, so.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We did label it final draft, so, any final comments, obviously, we'd want to incorporate before. So we'll hold off about a week or so. We'll welcome any comments, feedback that you get, and then we'll get those incorporated and finalized.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Yes, thank you. Okay. Moving on to item number 5 on Committee of the Whole agenda, Village Villa Park Police Department, Chief Pavlicek. And this is a discussion only. Chief going to give us a report. And then after the discussion, after he gives his report, folks from the public, if you have any questions, we're here to field your questions and hopefully give you some answers. So, all right, Chief Pavlicek.
Oh, wait.
Okay. Wrapping things up.
No worries. I'm only gonna ask for $8 million, so.
Oh, great.
That's easy. Thanks, Ken.
Oh, wow. We'll remember that. Okay. All right. Okay, Chief Pavlicek.
Thank you, President Bullwinkle. Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Manager Keener asked me to speak to you this evening about a couple things. One being the perception of crime that's been brought to his attention, specifically that there's an increase of crime on the north side of the community. And secondly, that the police are not visible in that same area. Additionally, I brought with me some information. I'd like to keep you informed of some police initiatives that are in progress right now in the community. Our perceptions of issues are formed by the information that we collect, we receive through our senses, and how we process that information through our individual frame of references. We've heard the phrase, the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. 2 people see the same glass the same way. Now, I bring that to your attention only because recently at the police department, we've released a pretty regular stream of information. We have press releases going out, Nixle alerts, Facebook postings, email alerts, And our intention was to keep the community informed of some of the police activities. But I've been told that the increase in press has scared some people, like, oh my God, where'd all this crime come from? And I apologize for that. That was certainly not our intent. We want the community to know of our successes, so we advertise them. When we hear from a resident that they never see the police on their block, we try and determine if do they really need us for something particular, or do they just want to see us? You know, sometimes you feel good about the police on your street. I have always had the opinion that it's either, oh, good, the police are here. Oh, the police are here. You know, it's one or the other. We have limited resources, and wants and needs need to be prioritized. If we have specific information about the issues, specific factual information, we can provide a better response. Now, if you didn't know, Villa Park police activity is logged into a website called crimereports.com. The public can see it. It's an open web. I mean, you can literally put in addresses around the country if the community participates in this service. It's a service we pay for. If you haven't checked your address in crimereports.com, I encourage you to do so. The data displayed on the site comes from our dispatch codes, police reports, and sex offender registrations. It's one stop. You can see it all on a map. If a resident wants to know about a particular crime in their neighborhood, this is the place to find it. Crimereports.com also accepts anonymous tips about crime and routes those through DuPage Crime Stoppers. With the police department, also monitor an email box, police@invillapark.com. Interestingly, I had a discussion with Cal today, and we were talking about getting information. Sometimes people are afraid to share information. Anonymous tips, if you don't like the email, then send it through the crimereports.com because it gets filtered through Crime Stoppers, and we don't see the source. So if you need to give us that information and you're worried about it, send it that way. These are excellent ways for us to gather information, but as always, 911 is for an immediate response. Please don't send me an email about something that was going on your street corner right here, right now. I've also been told by some residents, both in person and through the board, that crime is up on the north side of the village and that the police are not visible enough. In 2012, officers handled over 9,000 calls for service in our north zone. Now, if we're there 9,000 times for things, and it's calls, it's traffic, parking enforcement, reports, if we're there that many times, somebody had to see us. Please don't confuse calls for service with crime. I'm not saying that that's a crime level. It's just everything that we do, once it gets hit in the computer. If I log out to do a building check and walk around a mall, it's going to generate a call for service number. Traffic stops, parking enforcement, complaints about quality of life, all those go into our calls for service log. Now, this area that I'm referring to as our north zone is roughly bounded by our border with Lombard on the west, Union Pacific Tracks on the south, Route 83 on the east, and our border with Addison on the north. This zone includes the Metro Station, North Avenue Townhomes, the Odeum, all of the businesses along North Avenue, and all the roadways that connect those areas. If you consider the makeup of housing, apartments, schools, parks, roadways, and commercial property in this area, it's a sizable area for police service, just by its sheer size and makeup. Now, planning is in fact advancing at the police department, and we need and desire the information from the community, from the board, in our planning, very similar to the strategic planning session we had for the village on Saturday. We're moving to establish a substations presence not only on the north side of town, but on the south side as well. If our officers have a location on either side of town to stop at, prepare their reports, return phone calls to residents, take their breaks, then they're not coming back into the police station, which is what I've told them not to do. They're just that much closer to their assigned patrol zones. Now, the tentative plan is to locate these substations at our fire stations on the north side of Plymouth and Princeton, and on the south side on Ardmore, and my thanks to Chief Rokosnik for his help with this. Not moving the firemen out. Yet, okay. We're moving forward with camera upgrades at the Metro Station. This service will be an internet-based system, which is a much more efficient way of streaming data. We're in the process of hiring a part-time civilian investigative aide in order to free up the detectives from a lot of paperwork, some of their routine phone follow-ups, background investigations, and computer searches. The first stop for the detectives will be the field assisting in our tactical operations. All those issues are in progress right now. We've already undertaken some different patrol strategies. For several weeks now, officers have initiated foot patrols in some of the neighborhoods with multifamily housing, but that activity is limited by the other demands of the community. In an effort to improve communications with the community, officers in the different zones are assigned a cell phone for that zone. The intention is that if they need to get information, they don't have to come back into the station. If they need to call a resident back, they can do it from the field on the work phone. Now recognize, please, we do have limited resources, and if we're out walking in one neighborhood, we're probably not going to be patrolling in another. Service to our community is about reasonably managing those limited resources. We've renewed our commitment to our task force memberships with the countywide narcotics task force, DUMEG, our membership in the county's gang task force, ATAC, and our local neighbors, Addison, Lombard, Oak Brook Terrace, and Elmhurst. I was recently made aware of a street-level initiative. The officers got together to do some enforcement initiatives with Lombard that'll benefit both of our communities, and I want to thank them for doing that. Because these kind of interactions help both communities. We help them, they help us, and we both get a little better for it. Lastly, our community partnerships have never been stronger. The school districts, neighborhood watch associations, other village departments, and community groups continue to provide information on activities in the community that we need to address. In a short summary, we want to gather crime information from the community. We're asking the community to give us the information. If something's going on, please call us. Facilitate the communication through 911 calls, do the online tips. We'll follow up with cell phone calls. Once that's done, we want to deploy the resource we have dictated by intelligence. Please remember the difference between information and intelligence. You take a lot of information and then you vet it, research it, analyze it, and then it becomes of some value as intelligence. Part of that is our substations, our foot patrols, our tactical operations, and our task force partnerships. Lastly, we want to analyze these programs for statistical data changes and perception issues. Are they effective? And if they're not, review them and adjust them. As long as all the community leaders, members, including this board, the staff members, the residents, continue to contribute with effective communication on the important issues that concern the residents, we can scan the issues for their true problem, analyze a proposed solution, respond, and then assess the effectiveness of the response for adjustment. You always got to have a plan B, because when plan A doesn't work so good, then we got to hear about plan B. Lastly, while I have the podium, I want to say one thank you to a couple of our officers. Every year we get awards, and I couldn't get them all here tonight, but the Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists recognize our officers Chris Yuko, Rich Borick, Jesus Landa, and Anthony Perkins for their outstanding work on the field of DUI enforcement. I thought I'd mention that while I was standing up here. So, thanks to them. They do good work, and I'm very proud to be associated with them. So, those are some of the things I want to bring the board up to speed.
Before we get into questions from the public, this may help answer some of the questions. In terms of the crime-free program, we've had some inquiries from the residents just kind of wanting to know an update on where we're at. So while you're at the podium, if you don't mind throwing that out there.
We passed a crime-free ordinance here in Villa Park last June. Since that time, we've had about 44 rental properties where we contacted them about things that are going on their property. Of those 44, 27 only had to be told once. So 27 were not, as we like to say, return customers. 3 of the properties resulted in evictions, and we got a 4th one scheduled for September 9th. Thank you. The sheriff schedules those. Tried to get them to move it up, but their docket's pretty full. 7 resulted in tenants leaving prior to the eviction process taking place. Sometimes the landlord will negotiate to encourage their departure. I should write that down. And the remainder are all in the process of working with the landlords. I mean, my hat's off to Deputy Chief Lay, who oversees this. Patrol officers in the field, as they identify the issues that come up on crime-free, notify the deputy chief, hey, here's a report number, rental property, here's what was going on, and right away, we're in contact with the landlord, say, hey, what's going on? And like I say, 27 out of the 44 so far, we haven't had to go back and deal with them.
This program's a great educational program to help educate the landlords on how to find good tenants. Because, you know, we have a number of landlords that want to do the right thing, but just don't know how, or don't know where to go. So this kind of provides them with a tool.
If you ever get the landlord licensing, but I think that's a home rule issue,
Yeah, that is.
because that's where you really get some teeth into making the landlord step up and do the right thing.
Sounds like we've gained a little bit of traction, and there's been some evictions and things like that, some
You
of
know,
our
it's-
nuisance properties.
It's just a little bit over a year old, so it's nice that everybody's getting used to it, and we've had some successes, and we'd like to say too that the landlords talk to each other so they know, and we encourage that, because move out of your building and go over to your building, I hope you two had a conversation that there was a problem.
My building's better.
Outstanding, thank you, trustee.
Right. With that, I'd like to see if there's anybody from the public that has some questions for you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Since we're having a discussion, yeah.
Sure,
So
sure.
if there is anybody who wants to take the podium, now's your opportunity. Anybody wants to? Oh. We have a duel here. Who wants to go first? Right, state your name for the record.
Ken Mount, I own 300 West Division in Villa Park.
Try to keep it 3 minutes if you can.
Oh, that's less than that.
Okay.
Since our crime-free housing initiative, we had 3 dates that owners were able to come here, get the information and everything. Division Street Association has instituted those crime-free leases, and it is amazing. When you question a person, you ask them for their credit return, credit history, and then you state, I need you to read this, and you hand them that crime-free housing thing. All of a sudden, while I looked for a place in Lombard I think I like better, and they're out of there. And also for Chief Palachek and the other officers, I had an incident to where I needed to call the police. The response time was less than 1 minute. Which is fabulous. Also, I've informed the police, I've never been accused of having intelligence, but information.
Okay.
Anywho. But anywho, at 226, we have a certain department that's been in trouble before. Now there was, one guy hit another guy with a bat, another guy stabbed the guy, everything like that. As I read the reports on Freedom of Information, this is already their second thing, and hopefully, I'm not for sure, but the landlord has been contacted, and we would really not like to see these individuals living there. Because as an association, we bond together, there's certain rules, regulations, but it helps me sleep better knowing that our Villa Park police are there in moments. We're treated with respect, and they get both sides of the story. And I have to be in court at 1 o'clock in Addison for what I had to go through. And I assured the police that I will be there as the witness and the complaining, because there are certain people that get these apartments or owners that buy these apartments and turn their heads. Oh, well, only 3 of the apartments out of 6 are overcrowded. I'll get rid of 1 apartment and then I'm safe till I can get that one rented. So there are games being played, but knowing that the police are there when you call is a great, great advantage for landlords in Villa Park. Also, all the streets getting fixed and everything like that, it's a wonderful thing. Although I do get angry, my air conditioning isn't working in my truck, it's hot. And I'm waiting in line, but progress supersedes comfort. But I'd like to thank the entire board, village, police department, fire department, although have voted for me, I accept this award.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak, have questions for the police?
How are you? Al Gorski, 428 North Princeton. I came to ask the chief a couple questions concerning the feasibility of substations on the north side, which was answered. Thank you, Chief. And I also wanted to ask, I was at a public safety forum, as several of you, I think, were with Deb Conroy, our representative. And she had mentioned that she was going to look into some grants for some similar Chicago-style blue light cameras that maybe we could put in some of the areas that we're having a lot of problems with we're seeing on the north side some drinking parties that, we're finding the remnants on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. And I was wondering, Chief, did she contact your office at all or anything like that?
Yes, yes.
I believe Deputy Chief Lake was at the same meeting, so we've got a correspondence going there if some grant stuff should come up. Plus, we have a supervisor that's assigned to search for grants.
As a neighborhood watch captain for 17 years, I have noticed our village, our north side. Now, certainly I don't know if that's just the trend of the world or whatever, but we seem to be getting more aggressive type crime. The police are on it. I know several police officers. I think they've done a great job. But I think we're a little more concerned because we are seeing more of a brazen type of criminal. And if there's anything in the neighborhood watch people can do or anything like that. I know we hold a lot of meetings and we say, this is a good idea, that's a good idea, but really, it comes down to our citizens, obviously working with our police department. But it seems like we are entering a new era. So, Chief, we're there to help.
People are concerned. So.
On the same token, we are seeing the type of crime that I guess we're not used to as a sleeping hamlet type community. So, but I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it. State your name for the record.
My name is Khalid Sabri. I'm a Villa Park resident of 314 North Cornell Avenue, and as well as I'm a business owner in this town. Thank you, Chief, for a great presentation. It was very good. Deborah and President Bullwinkle and Mr. Keener, thank you very much for having a great meeting with us, and I think we informed you quite a bit what is going on in our town. I have my own analysis that what kind of crimes are going on in Villa Park. And over the weekend, I put together a report that I have presented to the chief, and I believe I have presented to yourself, and Manager Keener has a copy of this report as well. We are basically living in a dream world, so we say. Are we really saying that we don't have any crimes in Villa Park? That's the report I just received from Chief, the crime, we don't have any crimes. Let me just show you here what I have. I will be more than happy to publish his report that we have more thefts, more drugs issues, and we have more arrests in Villa Park in only the month of May and June. And I can even go back and I have printed out all kind of different things that this information what I have, I received from a local paper. And the information I have, it tells you what type of crime we have. And most of the crimes, what time are they taking place? The time is between 4:15 p.m. to 4:45 a.m. This is the time we have the least amount of police present in our town. Look around on Ardmore Avenue, see what goes on. We have more crimes on the train station. We have more crimes just on Ardmore. Behind my residence, we have all type of situations going on. Okay? Let me just point it out to you. All of us live in Villa Park, correct? How many have you heard real gunshots going in your neighborhood? You have not. Well, Al?
Yeah, around the 4th of July, certainly.
Okay. We have more drug dealers, more gangs, and more crimes in my neighborhood. I have brought this same information to the police chief. He's aware of that, but what are we doing about it? Even this weekend, there was an arrest made, but not concerning the really drugs, it was concerning something else. East of me, west of me. I gave just a brief tour, what type of neighborhood we're living in. We have a drive-by shooting in Villa Park. How many of you know about it? You know about it? Okay. Well, who else? Exactly. All right. We have a drag race going on Ardmore Avenue at night. Oh, it was not you. I'm sorry. I thought it was you. You know, we are all saying that we are safe in this town and we don't have any crimes. Just walk around. We have people walking around with open bottles, alcohol, drugs, and they're being dispensed right in front of residents. And my neighborhood, basically, it's a shame that we are talking about we don't have any crime, but let alone our senior residents, they're buying guns to protect themselves. And this is from our residents. Okay? And what are we doing about this?
Cal, if I may step in now, would the chief like to address some of these questions or concerns? You'd mentioned that you had met with him, and just wondering if the chief could maybe address some of these while we have you here, some of these concerns.
And I have another question after that. Please go ahead.
I read from my prepared notes, and I did not believe I said there was no crime in Villa Park. What I asked for laid out was an enforcement plan and asked for the cooperation of the community. I did meet with Cal earlier today, and he showed me his statistical analysis that was based on arrest data published in the newspaper. And he gave me copies, same as he did you, and I haven't had time to thoroughly look at it, but it's based on the arrest data that was read in the newspaper. It's the source of the data. So, other than that, I didn't really hear a question. I mean, other than what I'm doing, I thought I laid that out in my proposal, or some of the information I just gave the community.
Well, and I know during our strategic planning session that you mentioned earlier that we had asked for a variety of different things and prioritized, and that's all going to be put into a nice little report for us when the consultant's ready to do that. But one thing we did ask was for an aggressive, proactive policing strategy. And you had mentioned foot patrols and
already in progress.
And also the substations. So it's nice to hear that some of those things are in process, and we're eager to see what other plans you all have, moving forward as we tackle this issue that we have as a community.
You have a very aggressive police department here now, and I thought that one of the things I asked for was more community information, because it's my perception, again, the information I have, that sometimes not all the information goes to the police. If people are talking around the water cooler about it, somebody call the police and tell the police too. I know that many of the board members have been contacted by residents about their concerns. I appreciate that they call their electeds, that's what government's all about, but I need to get that information too. And it was nice that I had this meeting with Cal, especially today, because then one-on-one, two adults, you could show me the material you got, give me some of the information, but I still need people, when things are going on that make you feel uncomfortable, that you gotta make that call to 911, and that's the best request that I can make. Other than that, I thought that I laid out in my presentation some options, some ideas, some things we're already doing, and some things that are in fact going forward. So,
maybe someday we can add bike patrols to that too, maybe. Someday. Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. That was we really have a good, productive meeting. The issues are there. We all know. The neighbors are not calling because they are concerned about their own safety. And how we're going to address that? I mean, we know that our local drug dealers, I'm not talking about the Costco or the other one. I'm talking about real drug dealers who are dispensing their products on the street, right in front of the residents' eyes, in their backyard. What are we doing about that? We need more foot patrol. We need more protection. Those neighbors are afraid to call. And they are protecting themselves by buying weapons. Come on now. You want us to buy the weapons and take care of ourselves? Believe me, I purchased my own camera system to see. I mean, I just spent $1,000 to surveillance my own home because my home was vandalized, my home was burglarized. Okay, what are we doing about that? We need more foot patrol on the street. We have a police presence. I'm not saying 911 calls, they're excellent, they're there. But you know, on Saturday night, how many times the 911 call was made right behind my house? Probably 7 times. And nobody, everyone is afraid to go in front of a court. Everyone is afraid because they're afraid of their safety because drug dealers are taking over this town. If we have a drive-by shootings, and if they're doing it right in front of your eyes, well, when are we going to wake up? I mean, this is not a small problem. This is a big problem in our town. Manager Keener, I showed you the locations.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
Guess what? 2 days later, we had an arrest, but not for that purpose, because that same person they're vandalizing. I mean, we are your eyes. I'm a neighborhood watch captain since 2011. You know, we need a little bit more aggressive approach for this problem. Otherwise, this problem is getting out of hand. You need to give the police more support. As a board, we need commitment from you. What are we going to do about it? I mean, I can sit here and talk about it. I've been here 10 years for the same issues. 10 years ago, I was in a meeting, not in this meeting, I was in an open public meeting. Nobody paid any attention to what's going on. And today, we are seeing more and more problems.
Cal, the manager has a couple questions now.
You know, we had an incident. You know, our police is fine. I appreciate what you guys do, really do, because you've taken your life and
Cal.
you've taken your. We really appreciate what you guys do because you're understaffed. We know that. This board needs to be give us a commitment. What are you going to do, please? And you know, our even mail carrier. There are issues in this town that we have pit bulls. People are walking around with the pit bulls. And guess what? Our mail carrier, they don't even want to deliver their mail to those homes.
Well, Cal, the manager would like to ask a couple questions or maybe answer a couple questions.
Now-
and then we'll see if there's anybody else from the
This-
public, and then we'll get with the
Where
board.
did you obtain the data that you have here?
I have this from a newspaper, local
So
newspaper,
is this
sir.
arrests or is this, what is this?
This is a data I have from
But is it arrest?
this, I'm sorry?
Is it arrest?
Rest, yes.
So your question earlier, what are we gonna do about it, but I'm looking at 188 arrests.
No, you are not. You're looking at 180-year arrest. You're looking at what kind of, not only arrest, we're looking at
it's
theft.
arrest.
Okay? You're doing something about it.
Absolutely, you got 188 arrests for the
No,
month.
sir, they are not 100.
But you just told me it's arrest, Cal.
No, sir, they are not, okay, let me withdraw my answer. Let me ask you this. These are not arrests. These are, some of them are arrests, not 188. Don't give me that now, not 188. These are some of the arrests we made, some of the theft we made, and some of the drug paraphernalia, what we collected. Okay, those are arrests. Now, let's go back.
Well, I have another
Cal, yeah.
question.
We're
So,
gonna have to wrap this up
if this
pretty soon.
village is increased to such drug activity and your area is so unsafe, how many times have you called 911?
Sure, many times. Okay, not.
I've got somebody in the back saying, I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you want to approach the podium?
One call from his residency in 2013 and one call in 2012.
Okay.
Because they're all logged in.
Oh, sure, they're logged in.
No,
But
no.
How many, as a local watch captain, how many other calls are made from my neighborhood?
We can probably call that.
Beside my home.
I'm asking you just how many times, because you're here discussing this with the board and asking me to provide them support. I'm asking you several
Sir,
questions.
you can see.
Because,
now
now wait a minute. You're asking me as a village manager to provide support, which is monetary. Obviously, it's funding you're asking for.
Exactly.
But I'm asking you, as a citizen and a watch captain, that if your area is so bad, how many times have you called 911 to ask for assistance? And I have an answer behind you, which says twice within 2 years. The chief just mentioned that this is Victor 1. Is that correct, Chief? Victor 1, they were up there over 9,000 times. Is that correct, or 9,500?
Yes, sir. Cal doesn't live in that feed. He's south of the tracks.
I know, but it's close. It's very close. And I drive every morning, and I think I've stated this before. I'm supposed to be at work at 8. I drive the community before I come in. And I take pictures of things that need to be done. And I know where these areas are. Yeah, one of them was arrested. And I think the chief talked to you about some other issues that we were dealing with up there that we can't talk to on camera. But if we're going to post this, I think we have to clean this up, if it's arrest or what it really is, because it's misleading.
I have given the chief a lot more detailed information. I just gave you, these are the trend for for the month of May and June. Okay, we can see the trend. Where are we going? Okay, don't deny it. You know what the problem is. You know what we are facing. Okay.
Your Honor, I haven't denied anything. I'm sure there's crime in Villa Park. There's crime in Lombard. There's crime in Addison.
Sir,
excuse me. I just received an email from DuPage County that I shared with the board that DuPage County has a huge heroin issue right now. We need to deal with that also, but that's not discussed tonight. And that came through an email from DuPage County that was discussed publicly at a meeting. And we need to address that. We do need. We also need to address the streets, the pools, stormwater. It's all a balancing act. We just recently, did we hire 2 police officers? Well, one didn't make it? Okay, all right. We made adjustments in the CSOs. We're going to go from 4 CSOs down to 3. We're going to take the other CSO position and divide it in half and create an investigative aide, which will become, will free up a detective. And the detective's going to be on our TAC team. Recently joined DUMEG, which we haven't been in DUMEG for at least 3 years. And DUMEG just recently made a bust, if I'm not mistaken, on Adams, if I'm not mistaken. They're out there working. We're not turning a blind eye to any crime. But as the chief said, if you have a crime in your neighborhood and you don't call 911, you need to do that. And you need to do it immediately. Don't send me an email on Monday after Saturday. It's too late. Call 911. That's what they're there for. Don't be afraid. If you're afraid, excuse me. Chief, I believe you mentioned the crime anonymous tip.
Yes.
Say that again for us.
Yeah, need you to come up to the podium. Can't hear you back there.
That was on crimereports.com, and again, we feed data into that from our calls and reports. And there's a tip box on there that then sorts through DuPage Crime Stoppers, where it's reviewed by, there's a deputy assigned at the sheriff's office that reviews the Crime Stoppers tips and forwards them to the proper community. So if someone's worried about anonymity, that's where for lack of a better term, the cleansing spot is right there.
And I think that's important, is to be anonymous. If you're worried, send it to them, call 911, tell them you want to be anonymous. On the other hand, if you're sending me emails about code violations, you are not anonymous. Because we respond to that. I will respond to you personally along with the board members, telling them and staff that it's been completed, that specific task. So the crime website is anonymous. Code enforcement email is not, because we'll respond to you. Thank you.
Okay, I think.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're done.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Manny.
You're welcome.
Anybody? Okay. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Diana Watkins, and I live at 505 North Michigan Avenue. And I just wanted to say that I understand what Cal's saying, but I don't want him to kind of tarnish the perception of the entire north side of town. I'm a north sider. I've lived on the north side on 2 different streets for 15 years. And I may have called 911 once, but never for a violent crime. My perception of the north side of town is wonderful. My kids, I have 3 children, they're all honor students, they love their schools. I live on a great block, and I love the area, and I'm not living in fear, and I don't have gangs on my street. There aren't drug dealers going down everywhere. I'm not afraid to walk around at night. I just want to make that clear, because I don't want that perception to be that the whole north side of town is down in the gutter. That's all I wanted to say.
And we definitely, our north side, there are some great areas in the north side, and the police and the staff were aware, and the board's aware of where our hot spots are, and, the concentration in those areas.
There's crime everywhere.
It's south side, north side, yes.
But there are an awful lot of good people on the north side of town, and a lot of good neighborhoods.
Okay. Manager Keener would actually like to add maybe one more thing to
I'd
what
like
you're saying.
to just kind of follow your comments. For those of you who know me, I run at 5 in the morning, and nothing ever happens to me. I get my miles in. I run all over the village, and I'm still here today. Some parts of the village are dark. Some of the street lights are out. I just keep pedaling along. I'm either on a sidewalk or a roadway, and I too do not want those comments to tarnish the village. I really enjoy living here in Villa Park. I think it's a fantastic community. I think our police department works very hard, and they'll work harder, right? We've got, the chief gave us some things he's going to do, and we're going to do those. And this is a great community, and I guess I'm the eternal optimist is what I've been called the last few days, but I enjoy living here, so thank you.
I think what's happening up here, it's a difficult discussion to have, but it's good to hear from all sides, because, there's a lot of different things happening in our town now. Maybe we're having some growing pains, maybe there's some other issues going on, but it's healthy to talk about what's happening in our town on all levels, so we can, change what we need to change and improve on what we need to improve, and really strengthen what we already have that's really strong. And we have a really great resident base in our town. And are we facing challenges? Yes, like any other community. That's the one thing I think we have in common with the other towns around us is, we're all facing the same sort of issues in some way, shape, or form. So just appreciate the diversity and the concerns, and they're all valid, and really great things, some things that we need to improve. And as the chief said, we'll be working on it, and the manager will be watching over it, and we as a board will be watching over that as well, to make sure that our town can be the best it can be. That's what I think we all really care about at the end of the day. We just want this town to be the best it can be. So with that, because we'll need to move on. Anybody on the board have anything to say? Trustee Case?
I tried to get this in on last meeting, but wasn't able to. But I pulled something up on Nixle, because I had a chance to play golf with 2 surrounding town police officers. And the question came about is, why is your police department getting such a bad rap? And I says, can you answer me that? And they says, the only thing we hear is good reports about Villa Park Police. I have a list of arrests here, and I don't understand it either, but I'd like to just compliment the chief and his staff, police force, on a good job. And the rest of the staff, too. That's it.
All right. Anybody else on the board? Trustee Taglia?
A lot of people are afraid to dial 911, and I understand that. It can be kind of scary because you don't know who's going to find out. But probably the worst thing you can do is call me when you see something happening.
Yeah, don't call the board, right? Don't call us.
I appreciate the confidence, but I got a text message this morning about a concern, and dial 911, please. I appreciate the confidence, but there's not much I can do. So, also, I'd like to thank the police department. My children go to North School. There's never been an issue there. It's a wonderful school. The kids there are great. I know we get a bad rap. Yeah, there's a lot of diversity there, but I think that's an important thing for kids to learn. And my kids are comfortable with it. And then The police do a wonderful job with the DARE program. My children love the police in this town. My little guy was playing with the neighbors and he hid in the garage, and my wife was scared to death. She called the police and they were there instantly. They found him. He was hiding on purpose, and the police had a really good, constructive conversation with him, and he wasn't scared, and he doesn't hide from us anymore. So I know there's a lot of challenges. I live in a pretty challenged area of the village. Of course, I'm concerned because I have 3 small kids and a wife and a dog. But it's just, like I said, when you see something that's suspicious, call 911, because these guys, they'll get there quickly. So I just hope we can all work together. Call 911. Don't call your trustees until after you've called 911. We'd be happy to help you then. So that's all.
Trustee Wagner, you've been
Thank you, Madam President. Just very, very brief. I appreciate what the chief had to say about the substations. I think that's a great start, and I like the idea of foot patrols. I don't think anybody up here is burying their heads in the sand and is under the illusion that there's no crime. I mean, we live in a metropolitan area of 5 million people. You know, there's migration of people all over the place, and we're certainly not, impervious to crime. You know, it's gonna happen. But I appreciate the efforts that the chief is making, and I appreciate the crime statistics that he said, real empirical data about crime in our village. And I appreciate that kind of information. I look forward to more of that, and more of a proactive approach. And it's, I think the chief made the comment. It's all of us working together. We can be the eyes for the police when they're not there, and I think that's an important thing. And I think neighbor watches are another important component. So that's all I have.
Trustee Davis.
Thank you. Most of you know I live on the northwest side of town. I have to deal with North Avenue townhomes and all the 3 flats on Lincoln. I've been there 21 years. Never had a problem. I have cameras on my house. I have firearms in my house. Not due to violence, drugs, break-ins, anything of that nature is an outside influence. We have gang problems. They're out there. You can see the taggings. I get phone calls that there's a gang of kids walking down the block. They must be Latin Kings or whatever. It's 4 kids walking down the street playing basketball. That's not a gang. It's a group of kids. I get this complaint a lot. You get more than 3 kids together, and if it's of a minority, and please forgive me, people jump to these conclusions. It's a gang. They're not gangs. Just kids. I got one neighbor screaming at me all the time about that. They're just kids. You can have a whole group. I walked around town growing up. We were 12 of us. Is that a gang? No. We're a group of kids. And that's what people, I think, are getting confused. When you get a bunch of kids together, high schoolers especially, they think they're a gang, causing problems. They're being rowdy. They're being kids. As long as they're not breaking the law, breaking my tires or windows or anything, I'm okay. So, we do have gangs. We do have drugs, just like any other town. I think our police department is doing a good job. I know I've seen them fly down my street to get to places, so they are out there. Could we use more? We always use more. Can we budget them? I don't know. I don't think so. But they're doing the best that they got. I have faith in them. I trust them, and I call them a lot. Residents seem to call me for some reason. So I don't know. I always tell them call 911. They refuse to, so I end up calling. So if you look at my phone records, you'll see it constantly. So I just wanted to say, like I said, I live up in the northwest side. I have to deal with some issues too. I've walked North Avenue townhomes at night. I was told not to. I don't have a problem. People just need to relax a little bit, especially when it comes to a group of kids. It's not what you always think. So just, we're taking care of it. They're working aggressively, and now that they're hearing more complaints, I'm sure they're going to work out more aggressively and come up with a different type of plan. So with that being said, I'll leave with that.
Trustee Ayala.
Oh, you gotta chime in now, because I don't want to be left out. I'm gonna try and make Al do it too. So, I gotta figure if Chief Pavlicek could pull our police department together the way he did and get that organized from where it was and what he found himself in and how he's got it running today. So he's got the right guy for the job to get the rest of what Cal needs done and whatever else anybody else needs done on all parts of the town. So my commendation to the chief, Deputy Chief Buttig, and Deputy Chief Lake.
Trustee Bolfus?
Everything's been said.
Okay.
So, police are doing the best they can. There are issues, but they're doing their job. So, thank you.
I think the message we'll take away from here is, we are acknowledging what's going on. It was music to my ears to hear about the foot patrols and the substations. I've been chirping about that for a long time. Personally, I look forward to seeing what comes of that to bring more comfort to our town. Our residents just need more comfort, and that I'm hoping that's what we're hearing tonight with your patrols and the new things that you're doing. 'Cause we haven't heard you talk about foot patrols before. We haven't heard you talk about the substations before up until tonight. That was part of the reason to bring you forward, to let us know what you're doing and how aggressive you're getting. Because, at the end of the day, the people just care about their town. That's what this is about. They're feeling protective, and that's not a bad quality to have. And your job is to be protective as the police. So we look forward to seeing what you do moving forward with these plans and how you fine-tune those plans and make them as aggressive as you possibly can to keep our town as secure and as safe as we possibly can. And we also have our Neighborhood Watch program, too. We can tap into them as a resource. And maybe there's other things we can do, too, that we haven't even thought about yet tonight that we can pursue and think about. But appreciate your efforts and giving us an update on what's going on, and can't wait to learn more about your plan moving forward. So with that, speaking of moving forward, it's getting late. We're going to move on to item number 6. Consider, and we're still on the committee of the whole, in case anybody's wondering. Consider amending the liquor code to allow alcohol sales at businesses who distribute gasoline. This is discussion only. Manager Keener?
I thought I was going to get out of reading it.
Not this time.
The management of the BP Amico gas station at North and Villa has applied for a liquor license. Villa Park Code Section 3-311E restricts licenses from businesses that sell gasoline and automotive fuels. Staff brings this issue to the village board for discussion and some direction. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. So, is there a staff member that would like to bring anything forward in regards to this? All right. Here's the chief, Chief Pavlicek.
Just to put it on the agenda, we received an application for a liquor license, and the attorney in reviewing the code said, hey, sell gasoline. Gasoline and alcohol don't mix in the licensing world here in Villa Park. I would like to tell you I have a position one way or another. I don't own a gas station or a liquor store, so I really don't have a horse in this race. We do license businesses that sell just alcohol in town. That's their livelihood. Consider, selling liquor in gas stations, that might cut into their business. On the other hand, many people are concerned, people are driving they drive to all the other stores to get their alcohol as well. I know you get further west of the metropolitan area, you get out Kane County and further west, where there's less population, you see all the quickie marts and gas stations, gas, liquor, diapers, everything you need is in one stop because that's the only business that's there. So I don't have a recommendation here for the board, and because we got the application, I brought it to you for discussion, but those are just some things that pop into my head about the topic.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Do you happen
Trustee
to know
Ayala.
why? Thank you, Madam President. Do you happen to know why they separated off liquor licenses from gasoline stations? Was it? I know you're new. This is new.
Yeah, in most municipalities, it was probably in that group of things, and Mr. Binninger, help me out if you could, but it probably goes back to you can't have liquor before noon on Sundays, because, it was a restriction that was there, it was always there, and, it's still there today.
Actually, I guess
but I'm speculating.
I guess my question is really to the village attorney. Can we find out when that was originally passed? Why was it was there any, not that we're gonna go back on our record to find the comments on the.
I can find the date. I'll grab the code book right behind us here, but it's probably, as the chief said, something that was a little more common back 10, 15 years ago when the issue was that people are going to drive to get alcohol, then open it up and drink and drive at the same time.
Is that when the separation came into our ordinance?
I'll have to look at the date, but I'm assuming that's the reason. I think the chief is right. Many towns had it many years ago. A lot of towns don't have it anymore.
That's it.
Madam President?
Trustee Bolfus.
We have one request for a liquor license at the gas station for this Amico station. We really don't. We have 7, 8, we're gonna have 7 or 8, 9 requests. Because if you issue this one, every gas station's gonna be here asking for it. We already know some of them already have asked, but it's never made it to this level because the liquor commissioner said it won't pass in the past, before current president. So, it's not one. You know, I did a quick count in my head, picturing the gas station. I think there's at least 7 or 8 in town. So, every one will be coming in. So, just wanted to point that out.
Question? 1989. Any other questions and comments from the board?
Well, Madam President.
Trustee
Might as well
Taglia.
say it, I was speaking with the manager over at the 7-Eleven gas station on St. Charles and Addison. They're not interested in the liquor license, so there's one.
So there's 6.
There you go.
Just a clarification, you may have already mentioned this. How many of our neighboring communities do this now? Do we have a sense of, I mean, like Lombard, Elmhurst, Bensonville, Addison, and anybody beyond those?
I did not do a statistical analysis of that, but in my travels, I can't think of anything in DuPage County.
Oh, really?
I don't recall seeing one.
Really?
Of course, now that I say that, I think right about the time I
Right.
left Darien, I think they passed it down there. Yeah, I really did do an analysis of that.
Okay. That might be interesting to look at, you know, who around us. Anybody else? Manager Keenan? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think what we'll do, if the board is up to this, we'll table this so we can look at this a little bit more and do some more research and take a closer look at it, and then we'll come back and then maybe we'll be in a better position to make a decision at that point, so.
Madam President?
Trustee Aiello?
Do you need an amendment? Do you need to have a?
It's just, you just need a motion to table. You want to make a motion?
I'd like the motion to table that order.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to table this. Do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia?
I'll second.
Okay, questions and comments? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on that then.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Aiello?
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bullwinkle?
Yes, we tabled this for future reference, okay. Item number 7 on the agenda, consider an ordinance. We can't, it's tabled right now, so, yeah, no question. Oh, good.
Your board has brought up the licensing issue, and you cut some of them.
We'll,
So you might wanna look into that too.
yeah, we'll take a look at that too as we do research, so, okay, thank you. We'll catch you after the meeting, maybe even talk a little bit more about that. Okay. Item number 7 on the Committee of the Whole, consider an ordinance adding pet shops and nonprofit animal rescue clubs licensed by the state of Illinois without outside cages as permitted uses in the Villa Park zoning ordinances C2 Neighborhood Business District. Manager Keener?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, along with staff, recommends approval of the text amendment adding pet shops and nonprofit animal rescue clubs licensed by the state of Illinois with outside cages as permitted uses in the village's C2 Neighborhood Business District. And Your Honor, I believe that Director Gruhl would like to expound on this issue a little bit.
Yes, I think we would like that too. Might be some questions about this. So.
Yes, thank you. This text amendment is before you this evening, following some discussions that staff had with the Greater Chicago Caged Bird Club. If you remember, approximately towards the end of last year, there was an issue with a hoarder house in Aurora where the owner had in excess of some 300 exotic birds that were found in the house. the Greater Chicago Cage Bird Club took to the task of trying to find homes for those birds, but one of the issues was where to put them in the meantime. They did find a location in Villa Park. They were able to find homes for all of those birds that were rescued from that home. The DuPage County Health Department was in there a number of times, had zero issues with the way the birds were managed, and staff never received any calls relative to that rescue effort provided by the club. About 2 months ago, I had some discussions with the club about a permanent location. I scoured the code to try to find where they were allowed by right. There were no particular areas of the code that allowed them by right, and I suggested that they maybe pursue a text amendment to do them by right. And as I did my research on it, I remembered that this board just last year passed an ordinance as it relates to pet shops to try to get a handle on some illegal sales of animals. So they passed an ordinance that said you could have a pet shop if it was done in this particular manner. However, the zoning code was never updated to include pet shops as a permitted use, even though you said it was allowed in this particular ordinance. So staff is before you this evening with a text amendment that has both pet shops and not-for-profit animal rescue clubs be included as permitted uses in the C2 district. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any particular questions that the board might have.
We might also have questions from the public too, so at this point, we have questions. Let's do questions from the public really quick.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Diane Arp, and I'm the Chicago Outreach Coordinator for the Companion Animal Protection Society, or CAPS for short. CAPS is a nationwide nonprofit organization that investigates puppy mills and pet stores who sell puppy mill puppies, as most of them do. To refresh your memory, we met first last summer when we approached you about adopting an ordinance, as mentioned here by this gentleman here, and that's ordinance 3716 that was adopted 9/28 of 12. And when we had approached you, our goal was to obviously get a restriction on opening any pet stores in Villa Park. And it was through your professionalism as a board, your openness and your willingness to partner with CAPS that this ordinance came to be. We use you as the poster child with other towns and villages of the professionalism that we would like to see. Now, that doesn't always happen, but that's digress. Our concern here tonight is with regard to this ordinance that is being proposed for a first read and vote. The issue we have is with the way it's worded. As it's currently worded with pet shops, it almost seems as if it violates the ordinance that was adopted last September. Now, maybe this is a semantics issue that we can again partner with the Zoning and Planning Commission or with you to make sure that we reach the goal to accommodate a rescue group, because not only do I work for CAPS, I also work for Great Lakes Labrador Rescue, which is a Labrador Retriever rescue. So we are very rescue oriented. Our concern is that the way it's worded, it's in violation of the previous ordinance that was adopted. It also could possibly open the door for a pet store to move in, and that's of course something none of us want. But again, maybe we can partner, work with you, maybe change the wording somehow so that the goal to accommodate a rescue group, as long as it's a 501c3 tax ID rescue group, fine. But our concern is when we saw the ordinance and the two words pet shop was like fingernails on a chalkboard to us. So I'm appealing to the board and to the Planning and Zoning Commission to possibly work together so that we can achieve the goal.
Right. Patrick, yeah, if you want to explain that.
The only thing I can add to that is that staff is not advocating that we change anything associated with the ordinance that this board passed last year as it relates to pet shops and kennels. In fact, what we're trying to do is we're trying to act in concert with that particular ordinance that was passed.
That, right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Yeah, when we get into the next level, we'll be able to. Okay, questions and comments from the board? Chris?
Madam President?
Oh,
First, the 501c3, do you need it to be a 501c3? Because this says nonprofit. Nonprofit is different than 501c3.
No,
that is
we have,
To
right,
be
that,
a nonprofit, you have to be a 501c3
Right.
tax approved by the IRS, which allows anybody who donates to be able
Right.
to deduct that.
Right.
There are
Patrick can answer that actually from the podium so we can catch it on the TV. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. All right. Go ahead, Patrick. We know that this group is a 501c3, and we have folks here too
Correct.
that can also talk about it a little bit more later on, the next part of the agenda, so.
That is correct. But I would like to state that this in no way intends to supersede or override that particular ordinance that this board passed last year. In fact, the only thing we're doing is adding the pet shops and kennels and then the nonprofit animal rescue as permitted uses within the C2 district. That's the only change that this ordinance would affect.
Okay.
Madam
With
President?
that,
I have two more.
Okay.
Follow up and still the second one,
Okay.
hold in my
Really quick.
pocket.
Really quick,
I'm
trustee
going to
Iowa.
defer to the village attorney to confirm that what I'm suggesting is 501c3 and nonprofit are two distinct entities. You can be one and the same, both a 501c3 and nonprofit.
Correct.
Or you can just be nonprofit and not 501c3.
Correct.
Okay. So I want to make sure that we,
State of Illinois gives you your nonprofit status usually first, but you don't have to go forward with 501c3. Many do, but you don't have to.
so I want to make sure when we identify nonprofit or 501c3, when we draft this thing, assuming we pass it, that we pick it up however way best the board decides to go. Both nonprofit and 501c3, or one or the other. And then the second question I had is, this is talking about, in the way it's drafted here, clubs licensed by the state of Illinois. Are we gonna allow them if they're licensed by the state of Illinois, or do they have to be licensed by us? Because my recollection is that one we did last September was they had to be licensed by us.
No.
Do you recall if it was one?
I don't recall, you don't have
We
a
don't
general
license.
business license here. This really was dealing more with temporary pet shops. That was the issue, I think.
Well, the specific language from the ordinance last year says that no person shall engage in the business of pet shop operator or kennel operator or any combination thereof without a license issued by the state of Illinois in accordance with the Illinois Animal Welfare
All
Act.
right, so that's fine. Great.
And we're not proposing any changes.
Understood that.
Madam President?
Trustee Bolfus.
If we could we get all the public comments that would help me make up my decision on what we're going to do? I'd like to hear from
Oh.
everybody first.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Sure.
If
Yeah,
anybody
that's
else.
fine, yeah, because we're gonna have another opportunity in the formal too, so, all right, whoever wants to
Well,
go
it may not
first.
go on.
Sure, no
We may
problem.
not put it
Yeah,
forward.
that's true too, so yeah. it's
Hi,
fine.
I'm Ida McCarthy. I'm also with the Companion Animal Protection Society. And we have no problem at all with the bird rescue. Any rescue group, any non-for-profit rescue group that holds adoptions only in any part of the town is fine. I mean, that's perfectly acceptable. So why don't we just get that word pet shop out of there? And just put offering animals, okay, well, I guess you could keep pet shop and then just say offer animals for adoption only, licensed by a 501c3. And that way, any rescue group can open a pet shop and just offer rescues for adoption, not for sale. Our main goal is to just not have the puppies being sold. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, state your name, 3 minutes, try to keep it to 3 minutes.
Since there's a little bit of confusion on this, and Caps actually has much more experience in this than myself, I was just wanting to know that since there's gonna be discussion on this, we'll just negate it on the formal agenda as the first and final. After this, proceeding might be discussed from here on, that's all. A little confusing. Bob Tagley helped me out with this a little bit the other night, but
Yeah, right.
a little more enlightened right now, but
Okay.
I was just wondering about it being first and final, if it would be held off on it, so thank you.
Make sure there aren't any other questions and comments from the public first before I ask anybody. Well, we've got, yep, come on up. We've got folks from the, you were going to be next.
My name's Diana Federle. My address is 6520 South Richmond in Willowbrook. We're, myself and Alice Blaney, and who lives in the village, are the head of the adoption committee for the Greater Chicago Cage Bird Club. And what we want to do is, over the years, there have been more and more birds that are coming up for adoption. People get old or sick, can't take care of them. Birds need second homes because birds live long lives. They live longer lives than some of us do. What we are finding more and more is that we need to get the birds out where the public can see them, which means we need a permanent place rather than having them in foster homes. So we need and we also need to teach people how to take care of these beautiful animals. So what we're proposing on doing is opening a shelter for these birds, but also an education facility where we will have regular seminars on how to take care of birds. We will have veterinarians in as speakers. We will have workshops on how to make toys, how to clip your bird's nails, how to keep their wings from flying away, you know, and a lot of things. They're not just warehouse birds. We don't want warehouse birds. Our whole goal is to find these birds homes. They need to be in homes, just like children need to be in homes. They don't do well in a warehouse. So we found that when we took all those birds from Aurora, that since we did have a place in the village and the birds, we found homes for them, it's the best way to go. So we would like to do a permanent place. We will guarantee you the place will be clean. Birds are not dirty, people are dirty. Keep your birds clean, they stay clean. We kept them very clean. I think anyone who came into when we were up in Park Avenue found the place always clean. The health department was in there every single week. They never had a single complaint. We've been working with the state of Illinois, been licensed by the state of Illinois for a number of years. They've never had any complaints. We work with DuPage County Animal Control. We work with Cook County Animal Control. We work with the Animal Anti-Cruelty Society. We work with the Village of Aurora and several other villages who've had hoarding incidences. So we have a very stellar reputation and we're very proud of it. And we would like to keep that reputation, and we will do everything within the village to do that and to take good care of those birds.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Sure.
You know, again, our goal is to meet your goal. The problem we have is with the way it's worded. You know, we can put it, maybe change the pet shops to shelter. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but that pet shop, just in my opinion, just leaves that door open.
Attorney have anything to say to that, or Patrick Grill?
I think we can look at that other ordinance.
Either one.
The only thing, I took pet shops directly from the ordinance that the board passed.
I think there's a confusion.
I think there is some confusion.
We did not outlaw pet shops in Villa Park in that ordinance.
No,
we
did not.
regulated pet shops. So
right.
Regulation.
The issue is, since we allow pet shops, we wanted to be sure that the zoning ordinance also addressed where they can be located.
Correct.
And so long as we're going to do that. So the first statement about that we don't allow pet shops in Villa Park is just not true.
Correct. And staff was merely just actually trying to recognize the ordinance that was passed. We're not changing any of the requirements from that ordinance.
Okay. Any other questions and comments from the public here? Before we bring it back up here. All right. Anybody else? Trustee Bolfus.
Yeah, when I saw the words pet shop in here, made me think back what we did in the past, a year ago. And I was a little confused as I talked to Patrick about it. And now the attorney reads that part, and I'm even more confused. So, my recommendation would be for right now on this item to eliminate the word pet shop and just go with nonprofit animal rescue clubs licensed and by the state of Illinois and with a 501c3 status, and take the pet shop issue and let's send that back to P&Z or wherever else it has to go and work it in with our our current ordinance and bring that back as a separate issue if it deserves to come back. So that would be my recommendation.
Madam President,
Trustee Davis.
I'll make that.
Trustee Taglia.
Question for the Cage Bird Society. Are you a 501c3? Okay. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so that. Very good. And then another question I have, probably for the attorney, would it be acceptable just to strike pet shops from this text amendment?
Well, right, the ordinance is attached. What we'll do is we'll strike 34, which says pet shops. We'll make non-profit animal rescue clubs the new 34 with the other restrictions. So that'll eliminate the pet shop issue for now. But just to advise the board, I don't think pet shops are prohibited in Villa Park.
I think the bigger issue is the puppy mills and, you know, having that infiltrate. And we talked a little bit about that, where the confusion came in by having pet shops in the actual ordinance, so we can eliminate that. Then we'll all be hopefully one big happy family here.
It was staff's intent to include pet shops per the ordinance that the board passed last year, and not in any other particular fashion. You know, not that it was carte blanche for any pet shop. They still would have to comply with what this board passed last year.
And that would mean they have no place to go, a pet shop, right?
Well, currently, because we have an ordinance that provides uses, permitted uses, if it's not in a permitted use category, it's prohibited.
Yeah.
But yet here, this board passed an ordinance last year that said, we allow pet shops under these set of circumstances. Except without having it somewhere in the zoning ordinance, basically you've prohibited it.
So that's really a separate issue from what the nonprofits are.
It would be a separate issue, yes.
So that's why I want to split it in half, so.
Anybody else? All right, do we need a motion then?
Well, you know, let me
Trustee
just
Bolfus.
give a little background here. I believe your group has anticipating leasing of a piece of property in Villa Park. So that's why time's a little bit of the essence here, so that you can execute that lease? Yeah. So that's why it's on here as a first and final on the next thing. So can we still, with the changes, get this on for a first and final on the formal?
What I'll recommend is that the ordinance, we delete any reference to pet shop in the ordinance, because I have it in the title, I have it in one of the whereas clauses, and then we'll change in the actual text in section 1, we'll delete pet shops and just do the non-profit animal rescue clubs licensed in the state of Illinois with 501c3 designation without outside cages.
Right. I just want to make sure Clerk Kenricky,
And I'll get our new ordinance
you
tomorrow.
guys get that all worked out.
Yeah. So the motion
We'll get you what you need.
the motion will be to approve the amended ordinance and just leave out the word pet shop.
Okay.
Trustee Bolfus, would you like to then
Make that motion?
Make that motion, 'cause I think we're ready to
Yes,
make that motion.
I would like to make that motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't ask me to articulate it.
Oh, well, all right.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Let's move on. Let's move on. We got too much other stuff to do.
Yeah, yes, we do.
Move it on.
All right. Questions and comments? All right. Roll call vote on the amended ordinance that deletes pet shops from the actual, from the ordinance, but it leaves the nonprofit animal rescue clubs. Okay? All right. Roll call vote,
Okay,
please.
trustee Aiello.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
President Bowie.
Yes. Item number 8. Sure, we're on item number 8 here, yes. Consider a resolution relating to the renewal of the Roy Strom refuse contract. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The refuge contract between the Village of Villa Park and Roy Strom was up for renewal on June 30th, 2013. The village has renegotiated a new contract which would extend over a period of 5 years, commencing on July 1st, 2013, and terminating on June 30th, 2018, with the renewal option being guaranteed for an additional 5 years at the sole discretion of the village. Staff recommends that the village president and board of trustees approve a resolution renewing the contract between the village and Roy Strom. Thank you, Your Honor.
Manager Keener, did you want to give a few details
Yeah.
in regards to? Now would be probably a good time to do that.
Yeah, watch your step there.
Wait till they get
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Manager Keener's going to give a quick little explanation on what's happening with the new contract with Roy Strom. And we have George Strom from Roy Strom here with us tonight in case we have any other questions. So,
The only changes to the contract which just recently expired, the same garbage will still be picked up using the same containers, etc., the same days. Still be Roy Strom if this is approved. We discussed the possibility of going from a 5-day collection service to a 4-day collection service. In other words, if the Roy Strom's group and the village decide that we would like to go from Friday to Thursdays and have a 4-day pickup week, the folks in the Friday section of town would be picked up on Thursday, and we would call that group pilot recycling group. And that particular group of residents would receive a 64-gallon recycling container at no cost from Roy Strom Refuge. Over the period of the last few months, we've always talked about recycling. We need to increase recycling tonnage, decrease refuge tonnage, etc. So we try to come up with a program that would incentivize and start really the village thinking about recycling more. So we wanted to create a pilot program, and we'd like to try within the first 6 months of this contract, if it's approved, of creating that recycling program. And what we'd like to do with that is if the village can, as a whole, can reduce refuge poundage, tonnage, by 5 pounds per homeowner or resident, and increase recycling by 5 pounds per resident over the entire village, then the village, each resident would receive a 0.5% discount on their recycling collection cost per month. And that would go quarter to quarter, so we'd have to maintain that quarter to quarter, so we couldn't dip back down. And that's one of the ways to incentivize to get our tonnage up. If we went from Friday to Thursdays, which I really hope we do, to condense it, there'd be a 4-week notification period. We'd let everybody know. Notification costs would be borne by Roy Strom Group. Another item that we discussed within the proposed amendment to the contract would be Roy Strom Group would pick up the Village of Villa Park's waste that would be included, and also pick up Metro Station's waste that would be included in the list of government-owned buildings. So we've done those two things, which have never been done before. Also, Roy Strom and George and Karen have really participated within the village for education, and I think that's what needs to be really done, is to educate to increase recycling. For instance, I did not know and understand that we can recycle bottles. I always thought that bottles had to be thrown away. Well, that's not true. Bottles can be recycled. So that's an important tonnage factor, actually, because if you put your tonnage in the refuge, then we may not make our discount. So tonnage, your bottles should go in your recycling after you rinse them out. But I guess I'm getting to education. The Strom Group and the village negotiated that the Strom Group will provide the village with 25,000 magnets, which we'll distribute throughout the village, throughout the schools, so that the kids, children take them home, they put them on their refrigerator. Usually the refrigerator is close to the garbage can. So it explains and demonstrates what's recyclable and what's not. And from that point, the children will talk to the adults, and hopefully our recycling will raise, our refuge will decrease, and we'll achieve a discount. And those are some of the highlights. Now, let me talk a little bit about the proposed rates. Excuse me. So this is a 5-year contract is the proposal. The last contract that we had that recently retired was a 3-year contract. And with a 5-year contract, we both thought on both sides that this would give the village an opportunity to increase its recycling and give Roy Strom the ability to have a 5-year contract in place so they can make investments in capital, so we have new trucks on our roads, not particularly ones that leak grease and things of that nature. So that's important. That was really important to have new trucks on the roads, nice ones, driving up and down, and not the rusted out ones that we've probably seen in the past, or leaky ones. But what we discussed and negotiated, now the last contract was for 3 years. It started out at X amount of cost per month, per quarter, etc. But right where we're at right now is we pay $15.85 per month. And what happened in the last contract was it increased 3.60% a month. That's what happened. So in this contract, it starts out, right now we're $15.85. So it goes to $16.55, and that's a 4.23% increase. But then after that, after the next year, it's 4% each year, where it'll end at 6/30/2018. It'll be 1936. Both of us thought that was very fair, and it's over a 5-year contract. They're still going to pick up everything. Cost of the prepaid tag, right now we're at $220 per tag. It would go to $230 next year, or $230 this summer, then $240 next year. So it increases by a dime. Brush removal per month incrementally increases at about 3 to 4% or so. Waste tires increase 5 cents per year. Special collections stayed the same at $30 right now for all 5 years. White goods, refrigerators, etc., stay at $35 through 2016. Then it goes to $36 and $37. And then our natural disaster service rate stayed pretty much the same. It's going to go to $135 this summer if this contract's approved. Then it goes to $140, $145, and that's an employee in 1 truck per hour, picking up debris from the floods or the rainstorms. And then the additional employee is about $3 increase over the next 5 years. Tonnage looks like it's a 50-cent increase over the next 5 years each year. So I think this is a fair, very fair contract. This group, Roy Strom, has really stepped up, educated the public, has actually met with school officials, met with children, actually participated in joyful traditions with a Christmas tree with all sorts of recycling items. This company is actually homegrown. It's here. It's within our community, employs our people. So I think it's a very fair contract, and Your Honor, I'll be quiet.
Lots of numbers. Okay. Any questions and comments from the public about this? Questions and comments from the board? Trustee Davis.
I told you my story.
Yes.
I talked to George over summer, and I wanted to do a beta test myself. I used to go through 30-something gallons, 32-gallon garbage cans a week. I'm not a tree hugger, I throw everything in there. But I bought a recycling bin from George and 2 of their waste cans for 40-something. I fill that recycling can up every week. It's amazing how I use the old waste management little thing right outside my door. I throw it out there. When it gets full, I go out to the big can. I'm using one of the big cans. So I'm basically going from 5 or 6 cans down to 2, and the majority of it's ending up in that recycling bin. Pray to God it's all recyclable. But to me, it's made a difference. And the kids are actually telling me what is recyclable and what's not. So I just want to say that with a bigger type of a can, I think that we can increase our recycling. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm not a tree hugger in any way, shape, or form. I'm filling up that recycling bin. Actually, I got 2 of them going this week. So thought I'd share that little beta test.
The fact that they take pretty much everything, it's easy to fill it up pretty quickly. Trustee Wagner.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to echo pretty much what the manager said. I really applaud Roy Strom's efforts to work in the community. The Environmental Concerns Commission has worked closely with Karen Ryan and with George Strom. I mean, they've been very, very visible in the community. In fact, at our upcoming Oktoberfest, the Environmental Concerns Commission is going to have a booth to promote recycling, and Karen Ryan came to the meeting and said she's going to be there to help. So I think it's a great idea. I like the idea that we're going to incentivize recycling and that there is an economic benefit to that. So I'm really happy that staff was able to reach this agreement with them, and looking forward to having them as our partner in the future. Absolutely.
Any other questions and comments from the board? Okay. Roll call vote.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Aiello.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
President Bowie.
Yes. Item number 9, consider a resolution approving an agreement for website design and programming services between the Village of Villa Park and Civic Plus. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Due to the limited functionality of our current village website, the Village of Villa Park obtained and reviewed proposals from firm for the redesign of the village's website. This redesign includes consulting services, setup, programming, and training services for the village staff. This resolution would formally approve a contract between the Village of Villa Park and Civic Plus for the redesign of the village website and authorize Village Manager Keener to execute said contract on behalf of the village. The cost of the redesign and et cetera will be $34,232, which we negotiated to be paid over four years of equal annual installments. Thank you, Your Honor.
Would you like to add a few more
Yes.
details? Okay. Manager Keener has a few more details.
Thank you, Your Honor. Residents and board and audience, we've had a number of issues with our village website, and when I say that, I don't mean any disparity to our current website provider. It's just that our current website, excuse me, its main page, if you can, Pat, if you can pull the camera in, our main page looks like this, and board, you have this too. Looks like this. You can see it doesn't take up my 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but this main landing page, if you will, for us, we're locked into this template. So to change things, we have to pull information off to put information on. And a recent example was the April flooding, when we had to get emergency notifications out to the residents. Well, we couldn't change this format, so we had to pull information off, put the information on. Then we couldn't change the font types. All we could do was change the font to red. Couldn't make it bigger. We couldn't put anything scrolling to draw your attention to it, because remember, we had FEMA, private and public coming to town, and deadlines and all these things happening. And remember the cleanups on Saturdays? We had to get that information out. We had certain road closures. This was very difficult. This template, I believe, is approximately 6 to 7 years old. It's written in a code that is not used anymore, so we're stuck. And what we'd like to do, and Pat, if you can pull in, this is the Village of Lombard site, which Civics Plus also designed. And we'd like to go to something like this. You can see that it takes up the whole page. You've got plenty of links, we've got drop-downs. We can get the information out effectively, efficiently to the residents using this type of a page. And this platform will take care of us probably for the next 6-7 years, and probably until they come out with some other code they will have to update. But it's staff's recommendation that we approve this. We'll come through, if this is approved this evening, with budget amendment number 2 and move some funds around to pay for it. Additionally, in the contract, at the end of the 4 years, we'll have paid for the design because we negotiated that. But also in the 4th year, we get a free design. And that came with us. So that's very important, because your site over time can get stale, and then you're back at the 4th year or 5th year looking to how you're going to finance something to keep it going. But the 4th year, going into the 5th, it's a free design, redesign. So that's awesome. So thank you, Your Honor.
Basically what this means is the new website will be a lot easier to navigate, a lot easier to find information, a lot easier to just get the information that the residents really want. So that's really what this new website is going to do for those that have web access. You can go to the library if you don't have web access at home, but it's really, and there's a calendar of events. There's going to be all sorts of stuff that will be right there, very easy to use. So that entertain any questions and comments from the public about this. Okay. State your name for the record.
Cheryl Tucker. I just have a couple questions on that.
If you can try to keep it just to 3 minutes if you can.
You're updating the website. Is it going to be able to drop information and put information on a lot quicker? Because the website right now has a problem with that.
Oh, boy.
And a lot of the information on the website is old. I mean, we're not getting the information quick enough, even for the agenda for the village meeting quick enough. I mean, it shows up Sunday night. For a lot of us, we'd like to read it a lot sooner than that.
Should be a lot sooner.
So we'll be able to drop and come through a lot quicker. Is the speed going to interfere with other people's computers? Because a lot of people have slower processors than others. They're not real modern. So is the swing from the new site going to work with all the slower processors?
Andrew Keener?
Would the slower processors be at the residence end or our end?
Residence end. Our end, I'm pretty sure the village has a pretty high-speed system.
Yeah,
We do now.
I think we're tied into a T1, so it's going to be flowing well. But you made a very good point. It's very tedious to do this in-house with this particular one, and the agendas have to be taken from a Word document, put in a PowerPoint document, and then plugged in. And it takes hours for Aaron to do that. This particular website, the department heads and certain staff would be trained how to go in, and it's Microsoft based. So we're all Microsoft suites anymore, and they could do that very quickly. Another portion that I should mention is that as a village, we're trying to go through and do credit cards. So payment processing, and that would be a plug-in. Another plug-in would be online applications for permits, online submission. So you could do a lot more. And with this, it isn't just, we're just not going to take the information from the current site and move it over. We're rebuilding the entire site, which would probably take 5 to 6 months, probably go live in January. For speed, I'm really not an engineer in that area. But I would think that it would be more efficient and wouldn't crawl, but that's just me.
Anybody else from the public have questions? Questions, comments from the board? Trustee Wagner.
Madam President, in the lead into this, it says that we obtained and reviewed proposals from firms for the redesign. Did we prepare an RFP, or did we not have to because we're spread it out over 4 years?
We did. We sent out an RFP for people to provide us bids, or if they were interested in discussing it with us. I think most of the department heads sat through 4 presentations, and department heads as a committee really decided what they thought would be best for the village going in the future. And I think it was unanimous, if I'm not mistaken, for Civic Plus. So, yes.
But and maybe the attorney or the manager can correct me if I'm wrong, but if a contract is over $20,000, we have to go out for bid for that, is that correct?
These are professional services. These are the kind of services like
Okay.
engineering services and some of those other things, so they really fall within that exception for professional services. Even though you did go out for requests for proposals, it's similar to a bid, but not quite a bid, so that you still had the opportunity for firms to compete, but it's at a little different level than trying to look for a lowest responsible bidder. Here, we look for the ones that are the best interest of the village.
Okay, and if I could just ask the question in terms of pricing, I mean, I know there's a lot more issues than pricing, but I assume that Civics Plus was competitive. Okay. There are some other features that I noticed in scrolling down through the thing. One was a carbon calculator, a lot of other features that are available. I don't think we have anybody here from the firm, but what is the carbon calculator?
That's a very good question. And I wish I knew the answer, but I can find out for you.
Okay. That's all I had.
Anybody else from the board? All right. Okay. I'll do a motion to move this forward.
Madam President.
Consensus? Okay, we'll do a consensus.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Case,
Yes.
trustee Davis,
Yes.
trustee Ayello,
Yes.
trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia,
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will convene to the formal agenda. And we'll whip through this as fast as we can. Oh, Manager Keener has one announcement right now, actually.
Your Honor, and board and residents and audience, tonight is the first night that we have a new locking system. It's called the fob, key fob. The doors to Village Hall are going to lock at 10:30 automatically, electronically. So I may have to dash down to the computer and open the doors back up. So if you're, so if you
We're
exit and
moving
try to
into the
come
new
in
millennium here, so-
after 10:30, you'll be locked out electronically.
But they know who's coming.
Oh, boy.
Okay, I'm ready, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, with that, on the formal agenda, first item, Village President's Report. We have a reappointment to commissions, Jose Castillo to the Historical Preservation Commission. His term will be 8/26/2013 through 4/30/2016. Is Jose here with us tonight? Maybe he was earlier. Okay, just need a motion to approve the reappointment to the Historical Preservation Commission.
Madam President.
Who was that? Trustee Davis?
I make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Madam President.
Trustee Aiello.
Second.
Okay, questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote?
Trustee Davis,
Yes.
trustee Ayello.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia,
Yes.
trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes, okay. I had a few more comments, but in the interest of time, I'm going to move on to item number 2 on the agenda, public comments on agenda items. This is in regards to agenda items 3 through 12 on the formal. If anybody has anything they'd like to say, by all means, come to the podium, try to keep state your name for the record, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Cheryl Tucker. I just have a question on the amendment for the liquor license that you put on hold. Does that have an effect on the first reading of the clarification of violations? Because you're gonna discuss the violations, clarification of violations of liquor license and, deleting requirements for inventory.
Two separate issues.
They're two separate issues, okay, so they wouldn't come into effect until they actually get approved of the license?
You're talking about the ordinance they're gonna consider, that becomes effective immediately, upon signature of the, village president. So now that does become effective for the existing license holders.
Okay, so this is only existing license holders,
Correct.
the first reading.
It does two things. One, it deletes the inventory for sale if you sell your property, and the second one is just really a clarification of what the violations are here in the village.
Okay,
Like
so it has nothing to do with the new new license?
No.
People asking new license?
Nothing to do.
All right, great, thank you. Oh, okay. All right, Tony.
Who did I retire from? I'm gonna help Chief from Miller, Euclid. I'll get you all the information on DuPage County and how many gas stations carry alcohol.
Okay.
Very
Wonderful.
easy to do that.
Thank
They
you.
can unplug it for me.
Yes.
Revenue streams, licensing of these gas stations. Traffic moving away from our community, people buying alcohol, beer, whatever, and we reaping the tax benefits. Amen. Well, I'll talk to you after.
Thank you, Tony. Tony Gerdak. Okay. All right. You want to state your name for the record?
Vivian
And
Carlson, 425 East Madison, in Villa Park. And I'm gonna make it quick, because I'm gonna get out of here before 10:30. I'm not
trapped. So you're not trapped.
Me too.
My comments tonight are on item number 7, the bullying and harassment ordinance. And I'll read what I've typed up, so we'll go fast and we'll be done. If I understand this proposed ordinance correctly, its main purpose is to keep the peace, and it covers all ages. It may be necessary to have such an ordinance in place that involves minors, but is it necessary for adults? We have a dedicated police department whose job is keeping the peace. Are they not better qualified to handle any of these situations, to diffuse, resolve without citations or arrest? Attorney Orr gave us a list of village personnel at the August 12th board meeting of those people here who could issue the bullying and harassment citations. Again, I refer to our police department. A call to 911 would be the appropriate action to take rather than, say, my locating a village person calling Trustee Taglia to issue a citation for me. And the proposed ordinance, as shown in this week's packet, clearly states the consequences when, and I'm going to say B and H, involves students. There is nothing in it that addresses the adult matters regarding the issuance of citations, who can issue them, as the process was explained by Attorney Orr to Mrs. Rojak on the 12th. I am long past having children in school, on playgrounds, in activities after school. I have no knowledge as to the extent of B&H in those areas. The community as a whole would be better served if the ordinance was specifically designed for principals, teachers, and the youth in our town. We have a DARE officer and a Willowbrook liaison officer to issue any citations that would be warranted. My hope is that the board give more consideration to this ordinance and not pass it as it now stands and is written, and let us leave the true peacekeeping to our police officers. I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on public comment on agenda items? We good? Okay. And we will move on to item number 3, the consent agenda. A and B, minutes from village board meeting for August 12th, 2013, and minutes from village COW for August 12th, 2013. Have a motion on the consent agenda?
Madam President,
Trustee Ayala.
move to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ayello?
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Abstain.
President Bullwinkle?
Yes. Okay, item number 4, first reading of an ordinance, amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 2013-2014 annual budget. To better track expenses and revenues during the course of the current fiscal year, staff is introducing proposed budget amendments on a periodic basis rather than annually. Budget amendment number 1 proposes changes in the Federal Drug Fund, DUI Technology Fund, Street Improvement Fund, and Wastewater Fund. A 2/3 vote of the corporate authorities is required to approve an ordinance for the proposed changes. Do I have a motion on item number 4?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia.
I'll move for the first reading.
Do I have a second?
Madam President.
Trustee Bolfus.
Second.
Questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Ayello?
Yes.
President Bullwinkle?
Yes. Item number 5 on the formal. First reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending the Fire Prevention Code, deleting the requirements for automatic sprinkler systems in single-family residences. The village has decided not to require the installation of automatic sprinkler systems in single-family homes. Pursuant to Section 55 of the Illinois Building Commission Act, the village has given notice of the intended adoption of these codes to the Division of Public Codes and Regulations of the Capital Development Board more than 30 days before the adoption of this ordinance. Staff recommends that the President and Board of Trustees adopt this ordinance. Do I have a motion on item number 5?
Madam President,
Trustee Aiello.
move to approve the first reading.
Do I have a second?
Madam President.
Trustee Case.
Second.
Questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
No.
Trustee Aiello.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
President Bowinkle.
Yes. Item number 6, first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, clarifying the violations of liquor licenses and deleting the requirement for an inventory upon sale of a business selling alcoholic beverages. The Illinois Liquor Control Act provides the authority for the village board to determine the regulations for the sale of alcoholic beverages. At the request of the police chief and village attorney, a number of new violations are recommended to be added to the Villa Park Municipal Code. If these violations are included in the code, we might be better able to demand the liquor license holders to maintain orderly operations. Do I have a motion on item number 6?
Madam President.
Trustee, who was that?
Taglia.
Trustee Taglia.
Move for item number 7.
Okay, do I have a second? Trustee Davis.
Second.
Okay, questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Aiello.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
President Bowinkle.
Yes. Item number 7, first reading of an ordinance adding to the offense of bullying and harassment to the Villa Park Municipal Code. Every person is valued and respected regardless of perceived differences, and many communities throughout the United States are taking steps to ensure that their citizens live in safe, non-hostile environments. Bullying and harassment disrupt safe environments and interfere with one's ability to succeed or excel within the village. Staff requests that the village board discuss passing an ordinance which would help regulate bullying and harassment in order to ensure that everyone is able to participate in or benefit from programs, activities, work sites, and opportunities offered in the village. Do I have a motion on item number 7?
Madam President,
Trustee Wagner.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Madam President.
Trustee Taglia.
I'd like to second the motion.
Questions and comments from the board? I just have one. There was some confusion. There were some residents that were concerned that this was brought forward to basically stifle them from speaking. And as you can tell, people have a lot of opportunity to speak at our meetings. So there was absolutely nothing to that in terms of stifling the people who want to come and speak at our board meetings. This was really brought forward to just raise more awareness and also to show that we're being proactive as a community. I don't know if anybody saw the article that was in the Tribune, but it was a very interesting article in the August 16th issue, and the headline reads, "Bully Culture Found at Wheaton City Agency." The city of Wheaton was having some problems with bullying within their own staff. Staff was bullying staff. So this is an example of what we are proactively protecting ourselves from, just as an example. It kind of crosses a lot of different boundaries, but it was a very interesting article, and it was kind of refreshing to see that, you know, we are being proactive on some things, this being one of those things. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Any other questions and comments?
Madam President.
Trustee Aiello.
I just restate, I won't take more than 30 seconds, but previously stated that I felt that this was not a good use of our finances to have our village attorney spend the time drafting this ordinance and then having staff have to enforce it, since it's already a state law enforceable by the DuPage County State's Attorney's Office and the county to be paid. Beyond that, I'll limit myself to that comment.
Any other questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Aiello.
No.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
President Bowinkle.
Yes. Item number 8 on the formal. Second reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending the insurance requirements for owners of residential or commercial property working in the village's adjacent right-of-way. The village desires to provide different insurance requirements between public utilities and adjoining owners based on the frequency of requesting permits and the scope of the work to be performed in the right-of-way. This ordinance would require each owner of a residential or commercial property occupying right-of-way or constructing any facility in the right-of-way to secure and maintain liability insurance policies, ensuring the owner is named insured and naming the village and its elected and appointed officers, officials, agents, and employees as additionally insured on the policies as stated in this ordinance. Staff recommends that the village adopt this ordinance. Do I have a motion on item number 8?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia?
I'll move for the second reading.
We have a second on that?
Madam President,
Trustee Davis?
second that.
Questions and comments from the board? Trustee Aiello?
Question for the village attorney. I may have misread this the first time it came up. I want to make sure I didn't misread it. Are we asking to, as the board being asked to require owners to ensure that right of way subsequent to the construction being completed, or just during construction?
It's during construction, it's part of your permit process.
Any other questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Aiello?
No.
Trustee Bullfuss?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
No.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bowie?
Yes. Item number 9. First and final reading of an ordinance omitting pet shops, just and not, so I'm gonna, so first and final reading of an ordinance for nonprofit animal rescue clubs licensed by the state of Illinois without outside cages as permitted uses in the Villa Park zoning ordinances C2 Neighborhood Business District. Planning and Zoning Commission, along with staff, recommends approval of the text amendment adding nonprofit animal rescue clubs licensed by the state of Illinois without outside cages as permitted uses in the village's C2 Neighborhood Business District. Do I have a motion on item number 9?
Madam President,
Trustee Bullfuss.
make a motion for the first and final.
Do I have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Aiello.
second.
Questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Aiello?
Yes.
Trustee Bullfuss?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
President Bowie?
Yes. Item number 10, resolution approving an engineering agreement with RJN Associates for a stormwater management addendum to the village's comprehensive plan. The village will be receiving $95,000 in planning funds through the Illinois Disaster Recovery Program, IDRP, for a stormwater management addendum to the village's comprehensive plan. The plan will address stormwater issues related to the 2008 and later storms, especially in the combined sewer area. Village management recommends approval of an engineering proposal for RJN Group at a total cost of $128,030. The non-grant portion of the work will be taken from the stormwater fund and/or wastewater fund. Do I have a motion on item number 10?
Madam President,
Trustee, who was that? Trustee Davis.
make a motion.
Second?
Madam President,
Trustee Bullfuss.
second.
Questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Bullfuss?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Aiello?
Yes.
President Bowie?
Yes. Item number 11, resolution approving village manager's contract. I have a motion on item number 11.
Madam President,
Trustee Aiello.
move to approve manager's contract.
Do I have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Case.
second.
Questions and comments from the board?
Madam President,
Trustee Bullfuss.
just so the residents know, this will be available on the website by state law, so if you want to see it, it'll be there. Thank you.
Any other questions and comments from the board? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Aiello?
Yes.
Trustee Bullfuss?
Yes.
President Bowie?
Yes. Item number 12, approve the release of executive closed session minutes relating to the following dates: January 11th, 2010, January 18th, 2010, February 8th, 2010, February 15th, 2010, March 1st, 2010, March 15th, 2010, August 23rd, 2010, October 11th, 2010, October 18th, 2010, October 25th, 2010, November 1st, 2010, November 8th, 2010, and November 22nd, 2010. There will be no tests or quizzes after that. Wow. Motion on item number 12?
Madam President,
Okay, Trustee Aiello.
move to approve the release.
Do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Case.
second.
Any questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis,
Abstain?
trustee Ayello,
Yes.
trustee Bullfist.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. A quick question from Manager Keener. Where will these minutes be in case people want to read the minutes?
They can be requested. They were, yeah, it's usually, we don't include them with the whole packet, but they can request them through FOIA, and not a problem.
All right, okay. Okay, item number 13, Village Clerk's Report. Clerk Kornecki, you have anything for us? Okay. Item number 14, Unfinished Business, none. Item number 15, New Business, none. Item number 16, Public Comments and Non-Agenda Items. If there's anybody from the public that has any non-agenda items on your mind?
15 seconds.
Okay, come to the podium. Again, state your name for the record.
Tony Gerdag, 50 Rand Road, Villa Park. We worry about sewage, we worry about water, we worry about crime. What about the other villages coming into Villa Park, our surrounding neighbors, and recruiting our local business with thousands of dollars in incentive to move their business to their town? Are we aware of this?
Thank you, Aaron. Actually, yes, we are, and Director Yee and I have been talking about creating some sort of fund that we could use to incentivize.
If you were to give me a minute, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay. And incentivize our local businesses, but we need to identify a stream that we can put into that pool to be used, so we're working towards that.
You're gonna hear your words, sir. Of course, so we reached out to them with Villa Park incentives. They also earned commission. What opportunities have we created for them beside added business? Same thing. You gotta find some incentive. I mean, they're often thousands and thousands.
It happens both ways, though.
We've gotta battle that. I mean, it's just, we can't afford to lose those. That's our tax base, guys.
It's true. Thank you.
Again, Villa Park one.
Yeah. I know it. All right. And just a side note to that, I'm really glad to read that in your report and hear it tonight. This is something we talked about how long ago. You know, Elmhurst does it. They provide grants to their businesses and things like that.
What?
So
They're trying to take puppies away from Elmhurst.
we're not gonna let that happen. So anyway, so really appreciate the fact that the staff is identifying these issues and working on solutions. So any other public comments on non-agenda items? Okay, we're going to move on to number 17 on the agenda. It's just information only. Bill listing dated August 26, 2013, in the amount of $728,977.33. Since it is just information
Well,
only.
what does that mean?
That I was going to ask that the staff explain
tell me.
that. So would you like, Manager Keener, would you like to explain it, or the attorney?
I'll jump in, but then
Okay.
Attorney Benninger can jump in also.
Go for it.
The bill listing is information only. The invoices contained within the bill listing have already been approved either by the budget themselves, by the budget being authorized, or by being included within the agendas and being formalized that way. So it's already been voted on in previous measures, and it's a bill listing for information only, so you can go through the bill listing. If you have questions, ask staff, ask myself, etc. And Attorney Benninger, would you like to add anything on that?
That's fine. The board has the right to ask any questions or comments.
Absolutely.
But the vote has already been part of it.
When we pass the budget. Okay. I have a question.
All right, Trustee Bolfus.
In the past, we've always seen, when we got the bill listing, Vita sent us the bill listing. But in the past, we had a detail on the end of it when we advanced the bill listing, like the attorney's fees and where they were. That's not here. It wasn't there. I want to see the attorney's fees. I want to see what we're paying the attorney for doing. I want to see what we're paying for engineering contracts, which we had in the past. And when we do road buildings, we always had that in the past. There was a little addition to the bottom of in our COWs. But to tell you the truth, I find out a whole lot more what's going on in Villa Park by reading the attorney's bills, all the attorney's bills, than I do, you know, talking to people. So I'd like to see those attorney's bills. Not just Kathy Orr and Associates, but the adjudicators and, you know, they get a lot of money. I'd like to see a details like they had in the past. So when Vita sends us the bill listing, he can put that on the bottom. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right. With that, we're moving on to item number 18, Village Manager's Report.
Your Honor, due to the late hour, I'm going to pass this evening.
Thank you.
All right.
Can't believe it.
Item number 19, Village Attorney's Report. Okay, the Village Attorney has no report tonight. Okay. Item number 20, Village Trustees Report. We'll start to my right here. Trustee Bolfus.
Okay. One thing real quick, I did notice by looking over the staff reports that we get part of the manager's report, that the Parks Department and the Rec Department have completed putting all the new lights in the village that we had to do. We did it with grant money. It came out to $100,000 and it only cost the village $700. So that's an example of the great work that the Parks Department did and the manager did to get that grant money, and only stuff that we had to pay for otherwise, and it only had to cost us $700. And it'll save us money because they're more energy efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Taglio.
I'll pass tonight.
Okay. Trustee Case?
I'll pass too.
Okay. Trustee Davis.
Real quick, pause in the past, number 7, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., Park and Ardmore gazebo, rescue shelters with adopted animals, various vendors present, pup tents, activities for dogs, pet food drive, please bring dog food, cat food. I'm gonna leave it there, that's time to go fast now.
All right. Thanks, Trustee Davis. Trustee Wagner.
Yes, Madam President, I do have a couple things I'd like to ask about. Number one concern is meeting time. There has been some discussion about changing our meeting time to 7 p.m. Has a consensus been taken among the board? Because, and if we change the meeting time, don't we have to do that as official vote? Since we pass.
I had the same question. Manager Keener?
Yep, thank you, Your Honor. The meeting time is still under discussion. I stuck in my report this week, if anyone, I think it's September 9th, if we wanted to meet at 7, to start early, because it seems like, I keep looking at the clock, that we stay later because we have so many important items to discuss. And there has been some talk about 7, some talk about 6:30. For me, I'm fine with anything. So it's completely up to the board, obviously, and yes, we would, I believe, change the ordinance so it states 7.
In the manager's report, I noticed there was some discussion about donation boxes and the proliferation of donation boxes. And I was up by Target and the out parcel there, and I noticed there were maybe at various times 9, 10, 11 donation boxes. And I was just wondering if we've explored maybe charging a fee to locate those on properties. I've seen sample ordinances for the regulation of donation boxes, and I don't know if we could explore that or not.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's come to my attention and Director Grill's attention that folks are taking these boxes and dropping them off in shopping centers without the shopping center's consent. And what's really happening is when they drop those boxes off, they're actually taking a parking space. And when that PUD was approved, it wasn't approved with that drop box there. So they're proliferating all over Villa Park for some reason, and it's sometimes it's just not authorized.
Okay, I'll look forward to hearing more about that. Lastly, Madam President, I just want to let folks know about the Prairie Food Co-op is having a harvest festival coming up on Saturday, September 21st from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's free admission, but you can purchase a lot of great food, organic food and vegetables, and there'll be square dancing, and if folks are interested, I would certainly recommend them to come. And just lastly, I just want to offer kudos to the library on their summer reading program. They had a record turnout for that, and I just applaud them for their efforts. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Ayala?
Pass, thank you.
Okay. On that, item number 21, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Don't fight over each other now. Who wants to go first? Okay, Trustee Bullfuss. Okay. Who's second for motion to adjourn, guys?
Rich said he'll stay.
Second.
Okay, Ayala, second. All right. Thank you. All in favor? Say aye. Okay. Our next regular board meeting is Monday, September 9th, 7:30. Thank you.
So if you're putting down those boxes illegal,